You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 2 of Liar, Liar, Dirty Data Dump.
Hello. It's been a really busy sequence of days, which has been phenomenal. And also today after work, I got home and immediately took a 30-minute nap. Woke up, had a little snack and a little energy drink, and I kind of feel like I'm ready for day 2 to start.
Had an energy drink.
So,
Who provided this energy drink for you?
Listeners, I hosted the Super Bowl party for the friend group on Sunday, and before Danny headed over, he hadn't had time to prepare something, so he just drops in our group text, I'm about to head over, can I grab anything? And I just respond, wouldn't hate to have a couple of sparkling waters, because all of the chasers we had at that point were like lemonade or soda.
Right.
And so Danny comes with this pack of sparkling waters I've never seen before.
I was going to say, when he walked in, I was like, where did you get those?
Right. I was like, yeah, but looks like a sparkling water to me. It has, the font looks like a child wrote it with crayon, and there's like little bubbles on it, and it says like bubbler or whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. It actually does not say energy drink on it. It says like energizes. And so I'm like, Danny, go grab a snack, say hi to people, I'll make you a cocktail. And as I'm doing it, Ashley, our friend Ashley, comes up to me and she goes, hey, just so you know, that's an energy drink. There's a lot of caffeine in that. And I was like, what? And she takes one of the cans and shows it to me. And then I'm left with a moral dilemma. Do I kill Danny, or do I pour him a half and half of half this and
also
half of Fresca?
Por Pena Los Dos, but that's so funny.
So it's vodka, a little bit of the, ends up being more of a splash of the energy drink that he brought, and a Fresca. And I go, Danny, I just want you to know I did decide not to blow up your heart tonight. And now I have 11 more cans of that in my fridge, because everyone was like, oh, no, as my boyfriend said, oh, we don't need to be making homemade Four Locos this evening. And I'm like, ooh, excellent point.
That is a
excellent
really good point.
As he was drinking vodka Red Bulls, I was like, okay, what?
Yeah, some people were having a really good time that night. Hello, if you're new here. My name is Maya. That's Grant. If you don't want to listen to us chit-chat and catch up, you can skip ahead. Bye.
Woo.
Love you. No harm, no foul.
My mom always loves to complain. She's like, oh, gosh, I get to the story right away. I know she listens to every word of the catch-up.
I'm like, just skip it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is my family's love language.
Yeah.
You know, it's deeply confusing.
So I listen to, and that's why we drink, and they have a very similar structure where they'll catch up at the beginning, and they have the same commentary. They're like, some people love it, some people hate it. And I like to listen to them going on walks, but I will choose an episode and then go for the walk. And by the time I get home, they're starting the story. And I'm like, well, guess that's for next time.
It was nice to listen to my friends.
Yeah, it's literally what happened. I'm like, I have no idea what their stories are, but I know exactly what Christine's daughter is doing this week. So that's cool.
We do that ourselves. And then we're like, it's crazy. Some of these people have parasocial relationships with us.
Meanwhile, I'm like,
thanks for being here.
I cried when Christine's pregnancy announcement happened. It's fine.
That's beautiful.
It was really beautiful. She made a shit post YouTube video kind of for it, and pretending to be one of the people that they have a feud with. That the other, it's a whole fucking thing.
And I feel like it got described perfectly, so I'm excited about that.
Once you know my story, you'll understand why words are not easy right now.
Okay. Ominous. Good to know. So that was Super Bowl party ended up being great. How was your experience at the Super Bowl party?
It was fine. I don't actually think anyone watched the game.
No.
I was sitting at the couch more than anyone else. And I was not paying attention to the game. I was researching and doing other stuff on my phone. Everyone was just kind of walking around, and I was like, what is the Super Bowl? What is this? We're not even paying attention to anything until it was Bad Bunny.
Right. We stood at attention for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Screamed.
Which was Bad Bunny.
Which was the Benito Bowl. Everyone was like, shut up! And then we turned off all the lights and turned up the volume.
We did turn off all the lights.
Yeah.
Ooh, we were having a good time by half. Why would we have turned off all the lights for the Super Bowl halftime show.
I don't know. It was your call, though, and everyone was just like,
yes.
Okay.
We made it a cinematic experience, and I
Yeah.
love it. No one fought me on it. I don't remember there being any dissent.
Everyone was like, sure, whatever you got to do.
Okay, I'll talk about the Bonito Bowl real quick. A couple of things. First, Lady Gaga was the something blue at the couple's wedding that happened there.
I almost actually vomited.
I know you did. I was like, is this girl about to cry right now?
I'm so emotionally unwell right now, just like in general. But wow.
Yeah. And then the New York City Public Sanitation Department, and I'm saying this realizing I might now be following for the memes on Instagram that boomers were following on Facebook 5 years ago. Saying it now, clocking it. Didn't investigate it. It was busy and I was tired. New York City Public Utilities saw a significant decrease in water usage during the halftime show, and then a massive uptick in plumbing needs in the 15 minutes after the show ended.
That's so funny. No one went to the bathroom.
No, everyone paused, and then as soon as it was done, everyone's been drinking. So I was like, okay, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Gotta go.
So even if it's not true, I'm gonna live in that world, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I had a psychiatrist appointment.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. It's a new psychiatrist. Basically, like my old psychiatrist left, and so I had to find a new one. And it's always really fun when you're going to see a new psychiatrist or a new therapist because you now have to re-get diagnosed with things. And some psychiatrists are more strict than others. Some are like, we're making sure that you adhere to everything laid out in the DSM-5. And others are like, you can't focus? No. Well, let's do something about that.
Okay.
You know? So this new psychiatrist is probably the strictest I've had and like asked me so many questions. So many. At one point she was like, so when do you think you probably like first started feeling the symptoms? And I was like, probably like not until after college because that's when I started having free time. And she was like, okay, but like, so you have like this hyperactivity and like all of these stuff. When did you think that started? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like maybe like high school. And she was like really dig deep. Like, when do you think it started? Like, you probably didn't acknowledge it, but looking back now, and like we played that game for like 3 minutes. And I finally was like, I don't know, maybe like second or third grade. And she was like, perfect, because I need to get it to like before the age of 9. And I was like, what?
Come on, a little bit more. A little bit more.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Literally coaching you through your own diagnosis.
It was also really interesting because she then told me a lot about ADHD and that I didn't know, including that bad sleep can lead to a worsening of symptoms of ADHD, which means there has been a significant number of people who have been misdiagnosed with ADHD, and what they really had was sleep apnea.
What are you trying to say to me right now?
Your problems could be solved once you get a CPAP.
Interesting. Because I did hear sleep apnea and just hear you're not sleeping enough. And I wanted to be like, girl, do I change during the summer? No, in many ways I get worse. I get out of a routine.
So true.
And I get significantly worse.
Worse for me and my wallet and my liver.
I'm
usually.
having a lot of fun. These stories, they're coming in hot, you know?
Yeah. The fact that she was like, these people got diagnosed with ADHD and then they got a CPAP machine and their symptoms for ADHD went away.
It's actually so special. One of my favorite ways that both my partner and I tell stories to each other is a word association. So something will trigger and about 6 minutes into world building, we'll be like, what? And that's why I've never had dim sum before.
Correct.
And it's like when it's both of us doing that to each other, it's fantastic. And I've learned this is crazy. This is groundbreaking stuff that I'm about to tell you. If I don't say anything, people will continue to talk. And I only ever do that really when I'm trying to make someone squirm or feel uncomfortable. But my partner will just keep going. And that's fun too.
I love doing that with male coworkers because they too keep talking and it gets dumber every time.
Yeah. You just never know what you're going to get out of them.
You don't.
I've had to on 2 occasions been like, Okay, yeah, no, I definitely have a reaction. I just wanted you to really make sure you had gotten like all of it out before I said anything.
I'm so glad I trained you for that.
It took 3 years of podcasting. Speaking of, girl, sorry.
Don't do that.
Well, here's the thing. It's approaching our 4-year anniversary.
3, because we started in 2023.
Is that when we published our first episode?
25. Yeah. Yes.
I think that might make this our 4th year.
23, 24, 25, 26.
We published our, you're right. Okay.
What's a prime number?
I don't know. 2.
So you're right, but it feels like an accident.
It was. But no, we first recorded our very first episodes, lost to space and time,
Yes.
to the annals of history.
Mm-hmm.
But we recorded our very first episode over Valentine's Day weekend in 2023.
Yes.
And I, didn't know it was Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And you, engaged or long-term dating at that point, was like, no, I have nothing going on. Come on over. We can record this episode right now.
Yeah. Casey came down and was like, glad to see you're with the person you love.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Cheers. Happy 3 years.
Cheers. Happy 3 years.
God.
Oh my gosh. Happy
Look at
3 years.
us. Adorable.
Absolutely fantastic. Those first episodes were like 45 minutes long. There was no chapters. There was barely any sourcing. Just like, here's a story.
Vibes.
I'm going to whisper into all of your ears right now.
Yeah, 100%.
My family was in town also. My parents were. Can I share some of those stories right now?
Yes, absolutely. You can.
Love mom and dad. Love Greg and Teresa. They're homies. They're fantastic. It's a couple of really great stories. First, I tried to teach them how to use the RTD light rail station near my house.
Uh-oh.
You know, the one that like you literally walk onto it. There's not a barrier or nothing.
Right.
And then it just stops at their destination. There's no like get off here.
Yeah, switch or anything. Yeah.
At one point, the conductor will be like, everybody off. That's your
when you
cue.
get off. Yeah.
So I walked them there, showed them how to get on it and stuff like that, walked them back because the next day they were going to take the Amtrak from downtown. And my parents were trying to decide if they should take the light rail I had just told them how to use or if I should drop them off at the train station. And my dad goes, well, Grant, like if you were doing this trip tomorrow, what would you do? And I go, take the train directly to my destination.
I live alone.
I know, right? And I was like, my dad was like, okay. And I was like, but if you guys want me to drop you off and I'm able to work tomorrow, I can. And my dad's like, oh, okay, great. And like, we can leave earlier if you need to. We can leave at like 7. And
that's
I'm like,
not what I wanted to
and I'm
hear.
like, oh, I can leave earlier for work tomorrow? Goody.
I love when they say shit and it's like,
Yeah.
do you hear what
Right.
you're saying?
Exactly. Now, they were great. Then they came back from that little train trip on Friday, and I was at work still Friday evening. We had like a little debate thing after school, and they did take then the light rail back and like walked home, and I was very proud of my city slicker parents, right? My mom especially felt, I think, very like new age, nouveau, whatever. Saturday rolls around, tournament all day. So I come home from working like an 11-hour tournament day, and I'm like, what do you guys want to eat? And they say the best thing you could hear, which is, we don't care, you decide. And it's like, yay, I haven't made enough decisions. No, it was great because I know they're going to ask that. So I have like 4 options in my head of what I want to go to. Yeah. Listen, ultimately, this is a gift because I now get to decide exactly what I want to eat tonight.
That's also how, in a house of girls who had anxiety in college, that's how we had to make decisions because none of us would make decisions.
Right.
And so one of us would come up with a list of anywhere from 3 to 7 things.
Right, exactly.
And then we would go around the circle and each person would eliminate one.
Nice.
Until we got to one.
That makes sense.
If you need an idea, it worked amazing.
And it was always Chipotle.
No, it was usually something with noodles.
So, did I tell you where we went Saturday night for dinner? Did you hear that?
Yes. You did tell me and I have forgotten.
We went to P.F. Chang's.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, knowing the history of P.F. Chang's because of my American Chinese food story, I was like excited to go. That place does a good job. I don't know if this is like some cool, hot indie take or if I'm just in my 30s now, but maybe it's both. But they do a good job. I order their old fashioned and it comes out and it has a little glass hat on it because they've like smoked it a little. And so the waitress like puts her like shaky hand down. Right. And then like takes it off and then just kind of like billows for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm not gonna take a video of my P.F. Chang's old fashioned, you know. But this is very cool. And then they're like, your fried green beans, and I'm like, right here. Yep, 100% right here. And well, good job. It is basically vaguely foreign Applebee's. But it is incredible.
I do kind of forget that it is a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah.
P.F. Chang's is in the same category as Chipotle in my head, in that like you go in and order and then like you get a number or something.
That's crazy. Are you thinking of maybe Panda Express?
No, I think that's why I have that association. But also I think, no, Pee-wee was definitely a sit-down restaurant. Never mind. I don't have an excuse. For
significant portions of my of my life, not even childhood, for significant portions of my life, maybe until post-college, P.F. Chang's rivaled perhaps the fanciest restaurant I had ever gone to.
Oh.
Because our family would do, during the summer, like a little weekend trip down to Kansas City, where there's this thing called the Power and Light District and the Plaza and things like that. It's like a fancy shopping area. And we would go to the P.F. Chang's at the Plaza. And it was at the time when if you ordered the lettuce wraps, they would mix a little bit of mustard, a little bit of like white wine vinegar and soy sauce together and make the dip for the spinach rolls in front of you. It was the peak of dining in 2006. It was the fanciest thing I had ever seen in middle school. And
in Nebraska.
They don't mix it for you at the table anymore. So like some of the glam's gone, you know?
Yes.
Still means a lot to me.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Last real story, I mean, I'm sure there'll be more. Last story, though, from my parents' visit that I can think of right now is, so then they're there on Sunday for the Super Bowl, and it's my parents, and then like legitimately 15, 20, and early 30-year-olds, like just going after it, right?
Yeah.
Like drinks, stories. We mute the game at one point and just start playing music, right? Like we're having a great time. I have in my phone this incredible footage of my parents at the corner of my kitchen island as my mom has this sad little disposable plate of like tortilla chips that she's like drizzled some of the like cheese dip on, and she's eating it with like a fork and... My parents are fighting for their life, and the video is me zooming in on the like little snack they're trying to keep the fuel going, and then I like pivot it to the stove and I zoom in on the clock and it's 9:12.
They can't hang anymore.
No. But it was great, and that was a lot of fun. And then played a wonderful card game, and everyone left. And then at the very, very end,
we need to talk about that card game.
Yeah,
also.
we do.
Yeah.
At the very, very end, though, it's just my parents, myself, my partner, and his best friend are still there, and it's one of those moments where when you can see yourself through fresh eyes, it like really opens up. My mom and I, especially, my dad too, he's there. He's our moon. My mom and I, especially though, really can move in sync when it comes to cleaning up a kitchen. Like when it comes to closing up shop for the night, we absolutely...
I do think there is a planetary system that is dependent on if you're from Nebraska, because I also saw that during Friendsgiving and then again in Breckenridge. I was like, I don't even feel bad about not helping, because there is literally no way for me to help these people. They all somehow know what each other's jobs are, and no one assigned me anything.
You don't know the dance. You don't know the steps.
So I was watching and I was like, this is wild. It's like, when you hire like a herd of goats to mow your lawn. Like that's what it felt like to me anyway, watching it happen.
I did have to explain that to my partner later, who's famously not from Nebraska. Yeah. One of the many things I love about him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
if you end up marrying someone from Nebraska, I have never known you.
Could you imagine
as a person?
Me sharing a bit with someone else?
Literally never.
Literally no. But I was like, it's so funny. There is legitimate footage from my brother's wedding where he married my wonderful sister-in-law, where no one asked and certainly no one assigned, but two of my older aunts, who they're getting older, older aunts eat like birds, right? Like they ate a little bit of their dinner and then just stood up and walked over to the cake table, donned gloves, and began plating slices of cake. Not like the wedding cake, obviously, that but this is for the masses sheet cake,
Incredible.
right? Including through all four of the wedding speeches. You can just see my Aunt Shirley and Aunt LaDonna, they're like cutting, and they're getting that knife underneath it, and then they're just like, and it's like a legitimate laugh. Like they're not, but it's just, it's very.
They need to feel useful.
Yeah, it's very much like, this is the dance of my people.
Yeah. Do any of your uncles do that? Or do any of the men?
No! Of course not!
Just wanted to ask.
Here's the thing. None of them listen, so it's fine. In general, but especially to this podcast. I am biologically related to the aunts.
Yes.
My mom has 4 older sisters. And so none of those men are biologically related to me. The one uncle I have on that side of my family, my mom's younger brother, Uncle Doug, he's a hoot and a half. And I'm not mad about being related to Uncle Doug.
Okay.
Uncle Doug's best friends, Uncle Doug's a corn grower and has a small herd of cattle down in southeast Nebraska. And
Nebraska.
I am starting to use my twang a little bit.
Yeah. Why does someone find it attractive?
He no. I want you to know, no. Finds it funny, not romantic. His friends came over to his place where he and my Aunt Cindy were, and they asked him to go to Turks and Caicos. And he said yes, believing he was agreeing to church and tacos. Now, either A, that's a true story, or B, a funny story. And I really do understand and appreciate that difference. But they had a wonderful time at Turks and Caicos.
I have a friend. So every year for college, we would go to this conference for event planning. And before I was on the council, this story happened. But there was a girl who was a year older than me, Lauren, and she comes from a relatively strict family. She hasn't really traveled by herself up until this point, and they announced that the conference is happening in Louisville, and she thinks it's Louisville, Colorado.
Oh no!
And that's what she tells her parents.
Okay.
People are even getting information from her for flight tickets, and she has not processed it. And I think it's maybe a couple days before when she's like, why are we going with
How old are you guys in this story again?
She's probably 20, 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But honest to God, one of the funniest things, because Louisville, Colorado, you thought there was a large national scale conference in Louisville, Colorado. No, it was Louisville, Kentucky, obviously, but.
I've never been to Louisville, Kentucky, not on a school trip, so I can't speak
been there
how
in general.
fun it is. I'll tell you this. Very, very unimpressed from a have to chaperone a school trip there experience.
That's fair.
Almost would have more fun in Louisville, Colorado.
Sure. I actually cannot tell you where geographically Louisville,
I also think we pronounce
Colorado
it Louisville out here,
probably,
don't we?
Yeah.
Correctly,
Well, speaking of things pronounced correctly, that actually has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. The Epstein files.
Yeah.
Do you, how much, because you're in a little honeymoon bubble right now. I'm not actually sure what you're aware of and what you're not aware of.
So, get a handful of things on TikTok, which now, of course, is just state-sponsored media, apparently.
Yeah.
And so between that and just the absolute insane cauldron work is for the next 5 weeks for me.
True.
If you are not a handful of very specific categories of information, I'm basically not consuming it. But I have public discourse about bringing back the guillotine has seeped into my For You page a little bit. So this is a history teacher, always really exciting for me.
This is going to be so fun to study after it's over.
Let's hope we get a chance to study.
So they released a new batch of Epstein files.
Okay.
And people are going through it, searching for names. It's really funny. Jon Stewart found out that he's named in it.
That's actually one of the few clips I have seen.
It's so funny him talking about it. Apparently, someone was saying we should get someone like Jon Stewart to do this,
right,
and
to MC.
And Jon Stewart was like, is that a job offer? Or Stephen Colbert is named in like a similar capacity. And it's so funny, like the absolute hush that comes over the audience when they're like, and I found out I'm named in the Epstein files.
Amazing.
Before they tell. You want to know who's not named in the Epstein files?
I'm going to be shocked by this.
I was a little bit.
Oh, Bill Clinton?
Oh,
he's
in
definitely in it.
He's deep in that, baby.
You were like, "Oh, you're going to be shocked," and I was like, "That would be shocking."
That would be shocking.
I did a whole Monica Lewinsky episode. That would be a huge surprise.
Yeah, Dick Cheney.
Oh, I believe that 100%.
That man wanted just to commit war crimes.
Yeah,
like he was just passionate about doing war crimes. He was like about sex trafficking. That's not for me. But like war crimes.
Yeah, I've oftentimes viewed many of the old guard Republicans as just truly, honest to God, Darth Vader evil.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You see Darth Vader and you're not like, this guy's a freak. You're like, this guy's just evil. He would like to see things suffer and end.
Yeah.
Right. Most of the men in that. The new age, I'm like, I think you took too many like cow tranquilizers for a toothache you refused to get taken care of because dentistry is gay. And now the infection has poisoned most of your brain. Like that is how I view modern day conservatives.
Seen the Epstein files? There's literally a dentist chair on the island that he had installed for one of the people he was trafficking or something who wanted to be a dentist. I am not kidding.
What?
The
idea that my word
crazy.
Association was able to spell out something that actually happened in the Epstein files.
Nuts.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, people got their teeth worked on, I guess. I don't know.
When we say people, do we mean people who have agency?
I'm not sure who.
Okay.
People were joking that it would be so funny if like someone was going to the Epstein files to commit crimes and another person was going to the Epstein Island to get their yearly cleaning done.
Because they didn't get into like University of South Carolina dentistry school or
something
whatever.
like that. So funny to me.
There is maybe only, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not intentionally remaining ignorant. I'm deeply concerned about like what's going on. Obviously,
it's a lot.
There is a lot. It's just there's a lot. The only other thing really that has managed to like hit my page is that basically every single evil person in the world, plus a couple other people, you're like they're evil, were invited to Epstein Island. And Elon Musk was too weird to get invited.
I was hoping you would say that. So funny. So funny.
Every single TikTok I have seen about it has just been like, hey, Jeffrey. So I would like to hang out with some women this weekend. Know any parties with women going on?
Hello, Pwinfa. There was one that I saw. I'm not sure if it's true. I did zero fact checking on this. But is that they also have the response to one of the emails that Elon sent that was like, when's the craziest party you're going to be? And you could tell like the response came from Ghislaine, but Ghislaine was not CC'd on the original one, which meant Jeffrey forwarded it to Ghislaine. Ghislaine responded to Elon and didn't even take the forward out.
Oh my God. When Robin but evil is the one that has to reject you.
Just insane to me.
And what does she say?
She said, in the document I saw, which makes me believe it's not real, but I don't know. I choose to believe it's real. Ghislaine says, we're actually going to wrap up the whole operation that we have on this island. We've kind of decided it's run its course.
Interesting.
Which was clearly a lie, but...
You know, I have been around Epstein Island this last summer for the vacation.
I did think about it.
And because I am not... How do I want to phrase this? Conspiracy theories don't interest me, and obviously this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is like a massive crime cover-up. But at the time, it was kind of like maybe both or one or the other. It's just like not something that I've ever invested. Like I would much rather learn about why Alexander the Great lost a battle in like 250 BCE. Like that. All
the white men in my life being doing this shit.
That just captures my... It charms me.
It charms me. And as someone who's been on Crime Talk for years now... This is my Roman Empire. My
sister's boyfriend on that trip was like fascinated with it and kept pointing to like crevasses and being like, do you think that's a secret entryway for speedboats? And at the time I was like, oh, why does my sister date such dumb men? And now I'm like, well, maybe. Wow. It could have been. Listen, I'm not saying I should have been nicer to that man, but I maybe should have given him his due. I had one more thing to say, but I can't remember that. I did write this down. I also made this into a TikTok, but
Trump's mentioned in the Epstein files more than Jesus is mentioned in the Bible.
Incredible.
And more than God is mentioned in the Bible. And more than Harry Potter's name, just Harry, is mentioned in the entire Harry Potter book series.
And that's after the Department of Justice has been power washing the Epstein files.
Yep. So, I mean, if you wouldn't say the Harry Potter series is about a guy named Harry, then the Epstein files are about a guy named Donald Trump.
Wow.
Isn't that psycho?
Yeah. Yes, because here's the thing. Like, those of us who've obviously like always opposed Trump and his policies have been able to at times before this moment been like, I get why he is viewed as so entertaining.
Yeah.
Like if I was just allowed to say whatever the hell I wanted and like play to all like the hateful, mean, stupid boy jokes I heard growing up, like
you would be a drag queen.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Trump's
and
promise was lost.
Yeah.
On being a drag queen. He would have killed.
He would have killed. And that ass, he wouldn't have to pat it at all. Are
it would
you
just
kidding
be
me?
so funny.
Like, honestly, he'd probably need some shapewear and wouldn't be able to fit in a dress.
I want a time machine to be able to travel to the timeline where that is reality.
But all that's to say, I bet a man who is so evil and so stupid and so insistent on everyone saying how impressed they are, but also at the same time is catty as hell, would be invited to evil, horrible man's like ragers, you know?
In some ways, he was the Ragers. Oh, the second most commonly named place in the Epstein files was Mar-a-Lago. The first being Epstein Island, theoretically. Yeah.
I saw this theory, and I don't know if I've shared it on the pod, but one of the reasons why Marjorie Taylor Greene has gone through such a massive, like, upheaval, I guess, for like over the last 6 months is essentially that like she fully believed in what Trump was saying.
She won't stand down on the Epstein files.
Right.
Yeah.
She fully believed in Trump and his innocence, whatever, and then was
now
presented with presented with undeniable proof with the thing that was her holy grail. And it'd be like finding the original copy of the Bible and they're like, this Jesus dude is not a good guy. You guys should look out for him. And I do think that would cause anybody a kind of like a psychotic break, especially if you're dumb enough to believe half the stuff that Marjorie Taylor Greene said.
Well, I will say, though, on the topic of Epstein, I did a 2-part episode, probably at the worst possible time to ever do a 2-part episode, right before the 2024 election. And highly encourage watching it. It might have been my life's work. But I learned a lot about cults and particularly QAnon, and I will warn you, if you're on Crime Talk like me and every third thing that you scroll to, it's like heated rivalry, Minnesota is falling to the ground, Epstein files, back to heated rivalry, like that kind of thing.
That's actually that's a news report description of what the internet is, right?
What my FYP is right now. Be careful because I am seeing more and more like political creators creating content that sound really conspiracy theory-y. And honestly, this whole thing is just like so out of this world that honestly, any of it could be true. But I did see the Wayfair conspiracy come back up, which was one of the original QAnon conspiracies, that Wayfair was helping in trafficking children because there was like cabinets that were way too high priced and named after like girls or something like that. And I'm 99% sure it's been debunked now that it's like back on my feed. I was like, well, was it? But like that was one of the things that would convince people to like go down the rabbit hole and end up being part of QAnon. Is they're like, let's protect the children, let's protect the children, let's protect the children. Oh, all of the politicians are lizard people. Oh, they were sacrificing children, which I'm honestly with these files, maybe, but like it goes down that hole and you just have to be careful, especially with what your algorithms are. So just don't get... We're better than the Republicans. We have to be. We have to be. That's all.
I think some of you were able to follow that. I don't know if I've done all the reading needed. No, I understand 100% what you're saying. I do. No, I do. Because there are times too where it's like, in an apples to lemons comparison, deleted Twitter back when it was Twitter years ago. Because I was like, this is feeding me like the first half of a story to intentionally upset me. Like it's like this is intentionally being online content crafted specifically to like enrage me.
Yes.
And get me to start to question things and to distance myself from.
If something gives you a huge emotional reaction, know that it was probably meant to do that, and then ask yourself about the validity. Don't open up the comments. Don't click like or anything. Don't click share to be like, is this true? Look it up for yourself before you're a part of the spread of it, you know?
Especially when it's A, something you've never heard of before, and B, your reaction is, how could someone do that? Chances are they didn't.
I mean, the Epstein files are truly just like batshit mind-boggling in how violent and brutal and cruel, and it feels like a different universe, like reading some of the things that happened or that people were reporting from those files. So honestly, I can't say that anything that is like, why would someone do that not be true? But I can say the Epstein files are public. So, and if a creator is citing something and not giving you the name of the document, because you can easily search that, don't believe them. That's it. Some of the shit is truly batshit. It's deeply upsetting. Like Lauren Boebert is now like, Ghislaine Maxwell deserves more time in a worse prison.
Wow.
Never agreed with her on anything. And she, yeah. So anyway, how was the hockey game? You went to a hockey game.
Basketball.
You went to a hockey game.
Yes, but I've talked about that. Haven't I?
Maybe you have.
Wait, hold on. No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Do you want to save some of that for Patreon?
I just need to say this. I started watching the Olympic hockey game.
Okay.
The women's hockey game. Watch it. I'm attracted to all of them. Whenever I watch hockey, it's usually not on TV. That's just not who I am as a person. But when I go to a hockey game, I'm usually like super high up, so you can't really see as well as you do as what they show on the Olympics. I don't think I really processed how much the puck does not stay on the ice.
She's in the air quite a bit.
It's actually so infuriating for me.
Here's the one thing I will say, because the hockey story you're queuing me up for,
Yeah.
catch us on Patreon for it, just because I think it's great content. And I have some controversial things to say. Hockey is, out of all the sporting events I've been to, and I think I've now been to college professional levels for basically almost all of them, hockey is by far and away the best sport to watch live.
It is.
Not the best, like, necessarily, like, live sporting experience, right? Like,
it just grabs your attention.
Yeah.
You don't even have to really understand what's happening.
Football is essentially musical theater that is just like a more masculine version of Newsies at this
Football
point.
drives me insane. It's
I love
stupid.
football, but there's like so much pageantry to it. I'm not talking about the game day experience. I mean, like, I'm watching this sport, and the experience of watching it live is just so much better.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to track the puck in person, let me tell you that much. And also, it's impossible to take a bad photo at an ice hockey rink.
It's true.
Because there's a bunch of
light.
ice bouncing off the ice. You look...
A bunch of ice bouncing off the ice.
Light bouncing off the ice. You're glowing. That's all I'm going to say. You're glowing.
It's true. I have noticed that. To be fair, I think that's also true for basketball. I think the lighting is just good. But anyway. Let's go.
Let's go, girls.
Let's go, girls. It starts with a question, not the question I told you before
great.
this. Describe to us and the listeners the culture of Facebook in the late 2000s and 2010s.
Thank you so much for that. To you or to the camera? Who do I look at?
Oh, wait, sorry. Before I do any of that, I owe Alexandra another shout out. Alexandra just took like new branding photos for us at Alexandra D Photo on Instagram and elsewhere. She does amazing photos. She's willing to travel for whatever. She does like engagements and grad shoots and photos with your friends and whatever. And she's incredible. I love her dearly. She's also done my engagement photos and my wedding photos. If you stalk me on Instagram, you can see. She also just recently started doing photography work for like charities. So if you're like a nonprofit or I think she's working with some maybe like dog rescues and stuff. She also does that kind of stuff. So check her out. At least give her a follow, you know? Support that.
She does
support that
incredible
lady.
work. Yeah.
Okay. Facebook, 2000s, 2010s.
Oh, God. Okay, so first it's great because it's helping us get Obama elected.
It's true.
Because you can essentially create your own Evite, which is revolutionary at the time. There's a whole culture around how you respond to people's Facebook invites to their high school graduation parties. Yes isn't probably going. Maybe as polite no, thank you so much, though.
Oh,
no
really?
is how dare you invite me?
Really?
Yes, and to drop a hard no is shocking.
Oh yeah, a no would never happen.
Correct.
But
so maybe as a polite, I won't be able to attend, and a yes is I'll probably be there.
Yes, in my circle of friends, we all every invite we got, we put into like a big list, like for each of us.
Okay.
But it was like organized by day and time. I didn't pay for my own food for like weeks, I think. But yes was I'm prioritizing yours. And then in between the other ones I have prioritized, if you're on the list, I'll think about it.
Maybe.
I did make it to like most of them, but
interesting.
Yeah.
So we have all that going on. Millennials were so earnest.
Sharing so much.
That song on TikTok right now where we are young. Yeah. That's right. We're black and it's like we're white and we're all together. Have you seen, do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard the first like few words of that sound.
It's making fun of in a perfect parody what that entire time period was like. We got Obama elected and then we got Obama reelected, and Facebook it's so funny because at the time they're like, you gotta really police your Facebook because you can get in trouble for what you post online, and employers are going to look at it, so you got to be serious about it. But we were legitimately posting 82 photo albums titled
all the time.
Yeah, titled literally Drop Mayo Add Ranch. Because that was one of our friend Kevin's like go to McChicken order at McDonald's was Drop Mayo Add Ranch. And so like a whole album from like a Nokia camera that someone was able to insert the little chip into a computer is like labeled stuff like that.
So
We're reposting memes like no one's business. I still have one saved. It's a bunch of women who've all put their feet into a circle to take photos of their shoes. We loved doing that. Look at us all, 5 different people with, you guessed it, 5 different pairs of shoes.
Converse.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Heel, kitten heel, whatever. Chunky wedge.
Croc from that one quirky dude.
Right. There's classic Facebook meme is there's like 5 people who, and it's all women and they have different heels on and their feet are in a circle and they clearly took it next to just like their kitchen island bar stool or whatever. So then there's just like a wooden chair leg in it and the meme says, nice, I want to party with the pirate girl. That's what it was like. You would post things like an Adele lyric, just one line, hello from the other side. And everyone would be like, hope you're doing well.
Yes.
I wish Facebook had more reactions than just like.
And now we have them and they're too much.
Yeah, there's too many options.
There's too many options.
You would like it and then be like, just showing my support, comma, obviously I don't like this message.
Like if I like it and it's a sad post, I feel like I then have to go back and change it to like the little tier.
Right, exactly. This is, we're telling Facebook, because this is the early days, so we don't understand the devil and angel, like the devil and creating for free online profiles of ourselves for these massive evil international corporations. But we're all like, I love the movie Shrek and the series Harry Potter book. We all, for whatever reason, have followed and liked the band Fun and Mumford and Sons. There's a Messenger back at a time when a lot of us have very limited texting plans. We can message for days.
Forever.
Because we also don't have AOL anymore because we've gotten better internet. It was a honest time. And now it's funny because obviously young people especially would never post those memes unless they're like triple irony cubed level memes or whatever. And all of them are just like, this is if I ran a magazine about me, right? Like that's everyone's social media posts today. But I can go back and be like, I went through some real ugly months and documented all of them and then posted them for free. Oh, and there was the whole discourse of back when someone would tag you and for a while you didn't have the ability to remove the tag and you just had to
live
ask
with it.
Someone to please untag me in this, which is their way of saying I look bad and have to tell you, and you now have weird power over that situation. But here's the great thing too about all of this is because this massive online profile was like part like deeply curated by you.
Yeah.
And part just like random, this is my life.
Yeah.
You could really get to know someone online by like really stalking them. The number of, and I understand that this is wrong now. I need you to know I understand that it's wrong. I need you to also know it was 2010. Will and Grace was still the most progressive thing that had ever been on television. We were eagerly begging for more episodes of Glee, okay? I want you to remember that. The amount of times we all sat around someone's parents' living room computer and gay investigated a man that we went to high school with through every single photo they had posted on Facebook. Was maybe the only time I ever used Facebook, really, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Because we all, if you're of a certain age, this is the last, probably most embarrassing thing I'm going to share. If you are of a certain age and went to high school around the time I did, kind of tail end when you did, we have all stared at like a grainy photo of our crush at a beach on a family vacation in like the long 24-inch long board shorts that all boys wore as swim trunks, and it's like has a Valencia filter on it, and the person has sunglasses, and you're like, holy fuck, this is just online. You know? Here's the thing about my memory.
For sure, we all have done that. Just kidding, I definitely have.
I've never forgotten. And that's the fun thing. That's the fun thing about my memories. It all just kind of lives inside me. I'm the teller of the stories. I'm the teller of the tales. That's what Facebook was like. I don't know if you wanted 5 minutes of content, but there it is.
I loved every second of it.
Me back.
So
hard pivot.
So you can tell a lot about someone from their Facebook.
So prepared for you to be like, well, there's also murder happening on Facebook, which is what's going on.
No. Today's episode is at times serious, but never like dark or like violent or anything like that.
Yeah, you can absolutely get a real reading on a person's inner thoughts on Facebook at the time.
Yeah, some diagnoses too, probably.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there's an Eton grad, Nigel Oakes, who is developing an interest in mass psychology, specifically in the 80s and 90s, so a little bit before when we just talked about. And he, Nigel, founds the Behavioral Dynamics Institute, BDI, alongside two psychologists. In this sense, when I say mass psychology, I mean, at least in the scope of today's episode, we'll be talking about like stuff like marketing. So aiming messages at social groups, the gays, the girls, instead of aiming them at someone as a human. And so they worked together on a bunch of consultant projects until about 1993, when the two psychiatrists he was working with, or psychologists he was working with, ended the relationship. That's how the sources put it.
Okay.
Ended the relationship with Nigel. He's
giving
just
Elizabeth Holmes.
One of them, Barry, said, quote, "Towards the end, we became increasingly concerned about the kinds of pitches being made by Nigel. We felt he was promising more than the science of psychology at the time could substantiate." And so Nigel goes, "Fuck you, bitches. I have a dream.
I know what I'm doing.
I have a dream." The one not psychologist, he goes ahead and founds Strategic Communications Laboratories, SCL. SCL will work in conjunction with BDI. And they're working on political advertising. We're going to get to the connection for social media once we get towards today's timeline-ish. But Sam Knight for The New Yorker said, quote, "In early interviews, Oakes distinguished the company's scientific approach from plain old political advertising in language that sounded, well, a lot like advertising."
Famously.
Here's a quote from Oakes. "We use the same techniques as Aristotle and Hitler," Oakes told Marketing in 1992. "We appeal to people on an emotional level to get them to agree on a functional level." So, hey, babes, real quick, if you're ever like doing a Shark Tank pitch or something, or like trying to convince someone of something and you say, "No, like Hitler," stop. Full stop. Even if you are technically right, there has to be another person that has done what you're talking about.
I fully use this when I'm teaching debate. When the kids are like creating a debate case and they ultimately impact it out to like, and this is going to lead to an authoritarian regime, and an authoritarian regime is bad. Whenever they like need to then find like an example to slot in there, I always say, hey, y'all, let's just go ahead and assume that the judge is going to be thinking about Hitler.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and then now pick a second one so we now have two examples.
Yeah. So he says that his new marketing technique is like Hitler. Especially as a marketing firm to then say, no, we're marketing like Hitler. You're marketing yourselves by invoking Hitler?
And we're good at it. Marketing, that is.
Yikes! I mean, here I am talking about it in 2026, so maybe. Around the year 2000, the British press catches wind that Nigel has been working in Indonesia, where his firm, SCL, has been tasked with monitoring public opinion on behalf of the troubled president. The president, Abdurrahman Wahid, probably pronounced that very wrong. So he, being Nigel, built what he called an operations center in Indonesia. And it's a room full of like a ton of computers and TV screens and like a police like one-way glass mirror. And so he's literally running all of these polls and like watching surveillance footage on behalf of this president. Spoiler alert, President Wahid would be impeached July of 2001.
Okay. So he's not doing a great job of keeping him out of hot water.
Good, okay. I guess. After September 11th, 2001, which is the September 11th, if you haven't put that together, SCL rebrands as a, quote, communications company for a dangerous world.
Okay. Always tough when you see 9/11 happen and you go, what an exciting new business venture for us.
Yes, what an exciting new angle.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear.
No, especially when this person has compared themselves to Hitler.
Right.
Yeah. And so they still have BDI, that original research firm. And so it's operating now as SCL's in-house research group. And the ability to point to BDI was a huge selling point for SCL. It, quote unquote, gave SCL an edge in psychological warfare and influence operations because BDI is able to like get all this information from all these people and then analyze it, which is important. It's not what other marketing firms have. BDI has like psychologists. At a trade show in the UK, SCL staff members simulated running the comm strategy for a fictional smallpox outbreak in London. So that's kind of what they're envisioning this be used for.
The tough thing is like crisis communication is an important thing.
Super important.
Actually, a grad class I took in my master's degree. It's great. I'm happy to talk about it. I don't really talk about it all that much.
Oh my God.
So like it's good, but like the sales pitch is also like really morbid.
Really morbid.
Yeah.
Like they really hammer home their point, I guess. So according to The Observer, in 2007, SCL is trying to get into the American market, and they pay Global Policy Partners, which is a lobbying company, to help them win defense contracts in the United States.
Classic.
Yeah.
If you got a kid to send to college, no better thing to get than a U.S. defense contract.
Well, makes sense, I guess. You got to get that bag, girl. So SCL would then carry out surveys for the U.S. military in Iran, Iraq, and Yemen, places like that. They would also have contracts with the U.S. Pentagon and the British Ministry of Defense. They were hired also in helping train the British Army, the British Navy, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Special Forces, NATO, CIA, the State Department, etc., etc.
So Nigel makes a crap ton of money.
Yeah. To be fair, I do believe he was already an aristocrat because he went to Eton, where the prince goes. Yeah. So at this point, Nigel brings on a fellow aristocrat and also an Eton grad, a young Alexander Nix. I forgot to write down what time or what age he actually was at this point, but he's a lot younger than Nigel is. Alexander Nix is described as a gifted salesman whose upper-class bearing, along with Nigel's, helped the two of them charm potential clients. An employee also would later describe them as posh, the kind of posh that allowed them to get out of sticky situations easily. So they made a lot of their money from offering election management services to political parties and the political parties funders that were in like the Caribbean and sub-Saharan Africa. They ended up working on elections in a lot of previously British colonies, which does feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, get out of there. We've done enough, you know?
Yeah. Also, like, what do you mean they're offering election services? You know, like, are you running the vote counting process? What does that even mean?
Like the campaign.
Oh, okay.
The campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, according to an employee, that in-house research firm that SCL has, BDI, was being used as a marketing tool, but was not actually producing any of the data Nix and Nigel were claiming they were getting.
Oh.
The employee said, quote, "I would ask Alexander specifically, where are the files? And the only thing we had in relation to all these projects were like little case studies, and that was it." So in 2003, SCL Defense is officially founded. It's headquartered in Dubai. And in 2007, SCL Social is added. I'm not 100% sure on what really they did, and then SCL Elections would also be added around
all
the same
based in
time.
Dubai.
No, SCL Defense is in Dubai. The other two, I believe, are in London. Yeah.
Famous capitals of good in the world.
Yeah. What's that tongue twister that like theater kids use to warm up?
Unique New York.
No, there's one about London that it's like the hole in the ground where it's a whole.
Oh
fucking thing.
yeah. It's like almost a sing-songy chant.
Yeah. I think it's
though.
also a poem or something. I'm not sure. So you might be asking yourself, okay, this is like these two rich guys are evil and lying about what they're offering people and making a lot of money.
Tale as old as time.
First of all, we have our liars. I think almost everyone that I'm going to talk about in this story is gonna be a liar. I'll tell you at some point. Okay, maybe I'll tell you now. I had said a couple times that I was super excited for this story. I want you to know that was before this story was this story.
Okay.
Initially, my cousin, Aaron, had sent me an Instagram post that said, scientific evidence reveals, I'm so sorry, that Helen Keller was a fraud. And that was going to be my story.
What?
She's not. It took one. It took one Google, and they're like, "Did you see this post? It's all wrong." And I was like,
"It's a picture of Maya Regular. It's a picture of her screen. Cuts back to Maya, full clown makeup, wig and everything. Back to the screen. Ha, you thought."
I was so excited to have this like expose
Big bombshell
on Helen Keller,
famous humanitarian and inspiration for the human spirit. Maya's like, finally, we can knock her down a peg.
And so I had to message my cousin back, and I was like a month later from when she sent it, I was like, "Hey, so turns out this is not true.
I don't know who you've spoken to about this, but you have some retractions to make."
It's all wrong. So anyway, that was what I was gonna do, but here we are. This story is still fascinating.
So you were excited to take down Helen Keller.
Sorry.
Hey, I want you to know, new listeners, she is a good person. Maya is who I'm talking about. Maya's a good person.
I like support and believe women.
You do.
I'm an ally.
No one gets that reference.
No.
I made it like halfway sipping a margarita at a Mexican restaurant on the west side of town.
Yours was as a joke and mine was intentional. So.
As we're here wrapping up the story where you did not trust or believe in a very famous woman.
I just thought it would be interesting, and turns out I succumb to misogyny, so it's fine.
Fascinating stuff.
Yep. So we're back with the British, these rich people that are lying about things and making money. And yeah, this is where I left off. Every person that we're going to meet in this story has probably
huge liar.
Lied, yeah. So what are they actually doing? Like when they're actually on the ground? Like they're not just sitting around and like making shit up. Like they are doing something. It's questionable what value that actually is, but SCL Defense is a military contractor, and it was using research to influence behavior in hostile situations. Specifically, they are utilizing what they will call PSYOPs, psychological operations. It's a term the military uses to describe the things that they do in warfare that is not warfare. Like, for an example given by a journalist who we'll talk a little bit more about later, Carol Cadwalader. Cadwalader, how do you spell it?
C-A-T.
Nope.
Okay.
Try again.
C-A-D.
Yeah.
Cad.
Wallader.
W-A-L-T-E-R.
It's C-A-D-W-A-L-L-A-D-R.
Okay. That tracks.
It's very phonetic,
yes,
but it took me a while to figure out.
Shockingly phonetic.
Yes, yeah, Cadwalader. She says, quote, "In a place like Afghanistan, you've got a choice. You either bomb the shit out of a village or you
Oh.
try and use other techniques to persuade them that actually the Taliban's not very good and you'd be much better off without them.
Oh.
Carol's not a bad person, I want you to know. When I said everyone in the story lies, I'll point out what I think she lies about. But this is very earnest by her. That's literally what they're doing. They, like the U.S. military has now hired basically SEL Defense to come and try and talk the other side into doing things that will help them, aka one of the things being find a way to persuade the 14 to 30-year-old Muslim boys to not join Al-Qaeda. As SEL Defense, they were doing things like that in Afghanistan, Iran, and Eastern European countries. Some will go on to call what SEL Elections is doing as information warfare. And Alexander Nix himself is recorded saying that the tactics used in SEL Defense and SEL Elections had a lot of overlap, which doesn't sound good. I don't really want my elections to feel like warfare.
Because we know they're liars, I'm like, oh, okay. This feels like something bad to lie about. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So we're going to talk a little bit about the kinds of things SEL initially did, and then as well as some of the things SEL Elections specifically did.
Okay.
This is going to be the first example. They worked in the 2010 election in Trinidad and Tobago. Do you know much about Trinidad and Tobago?
I mean, it's an island in the Caribbean.
Yeah. I also didn't know a lot about it. But the culture is largely subdivided into two groups, largely based on ethnicity. So there's the South Asians, which are largely Indian, and they're kind of referred to as the Indo-Trinidadians. And then Africans, who are kind of referred to as the Afro-Trinidadians. There's also two political parties that kind of adhere to those ethnic groups. So there's the more conservative party, which is the People's National Movement, PNM, and that, I believe, was largely made up of Afro-Trinidadians. There is then the more progressive party called the United National Congress, UNC, which was more the Indo-Trinidadians. This is all very generalized. I'm sure there's a lot more information and complexity and nuance to the situation, but that's kind of like bare bones what that's like. So
I was looking up Indo-Trinidadians.
I
That was
figured
just
you
like
were.
not a word I had ever really even heard before.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, it makes sense because it's a former British colony. Like, not make sense as like natural, but like make sense as in like, oh, the British
Because of their
love to
history.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what SCL did when they got there, hired there, they are hired by the more progressive party, the UNC or the Indo-Trinidadians. And what they do is they develop a campaign that's targeted at the youth. And their idea is to increase the apathy of new voters. So keep certain young voters from the voting box. And they create the Do So campaign. And they play up the idea that it's like, it's cool to be part of something powerful. So all these kids are joining it, all of the youth, kind of like unbiased based off of ethnicity from what I gathered. It was like basically all the kids. The Do So slogan turned into a powerful political message which symbolized the rejection of the government. And the translation of being part of the Do So movement is don't vote. And the campaign came with a gesture. It's like crossing your arms at the forearms with your fist closed. It looks kind of like the logo itself kind of looks like the BLM logo, but with like two fists.
Okay.
So the gesture starts appearing in YouTube videos, in music videos, in social media posts, and all of that. And the prime minister's house was actually graffitied with the symbols. And here is what Alexander Nix said on the topic. Quote, "We knew that when it came to voting, all the Afro-Caribbean kids wouldn't vote because they were part of Do So. But all the Indian kids would do what their parents told them to because of the cultural differences, which is go out and vote. Their parents were telling them to go out and vote. The Indian kids had a lot of fun being involved in the Do So campaign, but they're not going to go against their parents' will. And the difference in 18 to 35-year-old turnout was like 40%, which swung the election about 6%, which is all we needed in an election that's very close." Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, but like, so obviously this corporation feels evil.
Yeah.
But I also assumed that it was evil and they were lying.
I mean, they're lying about what the product that they have. They're saying it's all this like psychological data analysis stuff. And really what it is them manipulating like stereotypes and stuff.
Right. It's like armchair psychology with a massive budget and the confidence of a person who was born with the title Lord.
Yes. Yep.
Every time, like this last like couple months especially, you and I have both done stories where you're like, and you might think no human being could handle this level of lying. But these monsters were very comfortable.
They were totally fine. They actually then immediately believed what they said.
There will be times I will be going through my life and I will be like nervous or anxious about something that I want, or, you know, whatever we feel nervous or anxious about. And I will legitimately remember that I could not handle the kind of lying the Enron executives were doing.
Yeah.
And it actually it recenters me in my body.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm actually morally, I'm morally fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
I might, even if this ends up being a mistake, and it's not, but you know, we can talk about anxieties later. Even if I did like make a mistake, I'm not that.
Yes, awful. So the result of the Do So campaign is that the more progressive candidate won, Kamala Persad Bissessar. I was Googling her, and I guess she's now prime minister again.
Wow. Okay.
But she was their first female prime minister who was Indian. And she will later deny working with SCL.
Sure.
For whatever reason, which we'll find out. This next section I call Sink or Swim. So we're now in like 2012, the prime era of Facebook, right? Things aren't actually looking super good for SCL elections. At this point, Alexander Nix and Nigel have kind of had a falling out. Like their companies are still connected, but like loosely. Basically, Alexander Nix wanted to focus on elections, and Nigel Oakes was like, no, it's in defense. And so they just kind of went their separate ways. Nigel wants to actually specifically continue selling operation centers like the one he sold in Indonesia, you know, where his client got impeached.
Right.
But whatever. So they have a falling out. SCL Elections then has a team of about a dozen. After the falling out happens, all the people who get laid off. There's about a dozen people, and they're all relatively young. Like poli-sci grads living in London. And then they're living like contract to contract. So what the sources kind of described is that they would get a contract, hire on the people they needed who were all largely contractors. And then when the contract was over, they would inevitably not be able to continue supporting those contractors. And so they would like shrink and grow, but they were really kind of living contract to contract.
Like the whole company was.
The whole company, yeah. In 2012, though, they did win a series of contracts for elections working in Guyana, Kenya, and Ghana.
Okay.
Again, just like all British colonies.
3 countries very far removed from each other.
Yes.
Ghana might be closer to Guyana, which is in South America, than it is in Kenya, as the crow flies. So isn't geography crazy?
Geography really is crazy. Sometimes I'm like...
It's fun having this knowledge. It's actually suggested one of the reasons why the Amazon is so fertile is because the winds carry dirt from Africa across the Atlantic Ocean.
What the fuck?
Yeah, isn't that...
It feels like a conspiracy theory, but I love it.
It's also why we believe monkeys made it to South America. They fell into the ocean on like a fallen tree, and it got pushed over, and it landed in South America, and they survived.
Well, damn, Jackie.
Sorry, not at all what we're talking about.
We're talking about election interference.
Undiagnosed.
We'd be knowing. So a previous employee of SCL Elections said that they would use subcontractors, survey companies, and academics when they were preparing for an election they had won a contract for. And they would create what they call a super sample. Basically, they would use all of these contractors and subcontractors, whatever, to interview about 60,000 people, like obviously depending on the population size, whatever. But instead of them asking those people the typical polling questions, which were like, who are you going to vote for? They would ask more generalized questions like, how do you feel about life? Which would then thereby reveal the like issues of like the everyday people and then help their candidate to figure out what to talk about and who to talk about it with. And then they would be strategic in like which social groups they could target based off of some of these questions they were asking. However, creating these super samples often cost over $1 million, which does make it hard to be financially viable as a company.
Yeah.
And also is hard when you're competing against other political polling firms that basically do the same shit.
Right.
You know? So instead of bidding on some of the same candidates as other political polling companies, Alexander Nix focused his efforts on outsider candidates with wealthy patrons, because that's where the money is.
No one will work with them, and they have money to spend.
So I will take that money. No questions asked. So in Kenya's 2013 presidential election, SCL was hired to support Uhuru Kenyatta, who was not only losing the race as of late 2012, if the polls at the time were to be believed, but was also under indictment for crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court.
Humanity, you say?
Humanity. To be fair, the charges were later dropped due to a lack of evidence. Regardless, remember, late 2012, he has these indictments. He's down in the polls. By March 2013, he wins.
Can I take a guess?
I'm going to be, yeah. Yes, you can.
Do they come up with the Stop Coney campaign?
I actually have no idea. That did not come up in my research.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
That would be crazy. And I was like, because you asked me about Facebook, and I only vaguely remember us having opinions about that like 2 decades ago, it feels like.
Yeah. I'm excited for this. I'm so excited. Okay. So the charges would be dropped. He's then elected. He went from being like in a very loose second place to winning with a 50.1% of the vote. So beyond creating these super samples that SCL Elections was creating, they're also not above doing super fucking shady shit.
Good. Okay, good.
There's an interview in one of my sources with a man named Sven Hughes, who is described as a formal special ops person. He was hired in 2010 by Alexander Nix to amplify. Okay, before I say this, I feel like I'm missing a lot of context for what I'm about to say. It's very confusing, and I did no trying to figure out what was going on. I am certain that this is a true story, but I don't know enough about the geopolitics of the region to fully understand what was going on. It's going to be important when we get to the final little bit. So Sven Hughes is hired in 2010 to amplify accusations of rape regarding the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Sven then goes to St. Kitts and Nevis to bribe the leader of the opposition, and they essentially set up like a filmed entrapment of the leader of the opposition, like agreeing to a bribe. And so truth be told, I don't understand the full context. I don't understand who they were trying to get to win. But what Sven does say very clearly in the source is that when he came onto this project, the side he was hired to work for was losing like 80% to 20%. Like they were not looking good. And by the end, their client won in a landslide. And the contract that they were working with was £4 million. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not shocked. Like you hear about this is like the stuff of fiction.
Yeah.
But then you are shocked that you're at a bar in Soho and someone's like, oh, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I undermine the very process of democracy.
Yeah. In other countries. For money.
But not as much as you think that would get you.
No! That's a lot of money, but Jesus, what were you doing?
But it's also is it a lot of money before tax? How many contracts are you getting every year? Is it one? Is it one every 2 years?
They were getting 10.
10 contracts a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's decent money.
Yeah.
But you're still splitting that amongst a lot of people, you know? Are some of these operatives actually even making $1 million?
And then you're paying for traveling costs and housing and all of this, all the other fees.
And you lack any real sense of community because you're always on the road.
We're just tired of Brian and we can't go to another happy hour with him. So anyway, SCL Elections doing shady shit. Their selling point is their methodology and their data gathering. They believe that they have a unique special sauce, that other things don't have. And it's
a lack of ethics.
Yeah. But it's only partially true. Realistically, they were selling this whole data processing thing, and what they're doing is boots on the ground, fucking cloak and dagger. Crazy shit. So they're doing their job, just not how they're advertising themselves.
They're literally getting the mayor drunk and then when in bed, shoving a woman in bed with him and taking a picture of it. They are
basically
they are Cartoon Network style plots.
Yes, it's
but also deep subterfuge and espionage. That's also crazy. To film someone agreeing to a bribe feels so you weren't ready to be prime minister if you would. No. If you yourself would engage in that negotiation. Not that it was a good thing, but that's crazy. But then also oh no, we managed to depress the turnout in an entire age group of people to help win an election.
Which is just shocking, and counting on the fact that your cultural stereotypes of them would then play out in your favor. Wild. So now we're going to go to America because SCL is trying to get work with more major political parties like in the US and UK. But he's been largely unsuccessful because of the price difference. He's a smaller firm. He's competing against these big guys. And So that's why he's and he's also living contract to contract. So he doesn't really have the money to spend on extra resources in America investing in that clientele. And so they had a foothold. This was a true thing that one of my sources said. They had a foothold at one point, and Alexander sent a guy to like kind of deal with the clientele,
Here
build
in
that
America?
up. Yeah. And then there's a scandal because that guy got addicted to heroin.
The candidate did?
No, just the guy, Alexander Nixon.
You got to watch out when you send your workers to America.
To then deal with like intense political clients that you're trying to build a relationship with overseas. What?
Listen, I worked in political campaigns when I was in college, an early college shoot, because I was full-time education by the time I was finishing up college. Early days, and there are some rampant substance abuses. So while that's a tragic story,
Very
perhaps
believable.
the least shocking thing you have shared is that someone started to work within the American political system and turned to like hard drugs to navigate that experience.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, though, there is a market for this kind of service in the U.S., and the Democratic Party has already kind of engaged in this, starting with the Obama 2008 campaign, just doing kind of more specific targeted advertisements and attention is really started through the Obama 2008 campaign. It's very successful in using data and digital comms, and because the Democrats had this then opened the door for an entire new market for the Republican firms.
Right.
Because the firms that are like working for the Democrats, especially now, but like getting there back then, we're not going to also work with Republicans.
It was, I feel like at the time, 2008, 2012, was the birth of like, or rebirth, because there's nothing ever really new, but was the birth of like data-driven decision making. Because I remember in college maybe being made to read an article, because I'm in college after Obama's reelection, and it was about how Obama's campaign team was able to paint a very specific portrait as to who in Ohio watched Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
And the commercials they ran only on that channel during that time slot were tailored to be persuasive. And I think in 2026, that's just assumed. Like there's no way to not get something tailor made
exactly
for you.
What's happening.
Right. But at the time, it's just like, here's an ad that looks
like,
pretty
wow,
good
that's
in
really
general,
good
and
for
like
me,
put it places people will see it. You know?
Yeah. So President Obama's campaign is using Open Graph, which is a new thing Facebook has kind of introduced, and we'll talk more about it later. But they're using it to, specifically, the Obama campaign is using it to connect potential supporters with existing supporters. They have decided that like between these two groups, they can figure out how to connect people that have similar interests based off of their Facebook and be like, oh, you like this, you like this.
You like Harry Potter book. They like Mumford and Sons. You guys are millennial white men.
Talk about Obama. Like if they like the same sports teams and all of that kind of stuff. So in the US, SCL kind of recognized that the Democratic Party has got its guy. And so they only ever target Republican groups and donors. And they're really able to invest more money in this after they win in Kenya. That money kind of holds them over and allows them to actually put some time back into SCL itself. And around 2013, SCL gets its big break. It works for a conservative PAC in Virginia on a gubernatorial race for Ken Cuccinelli. Do you know who this guy is?
He gets really close to winning the Virginia governorship.
Yeah, he doesn't win, spoiler, but he wanted to ban oral and anal sex.
Yeah, he gets really close to winning it in 2014. I think Warner wins it by like 1.5 percentage points.
I don't understand how you memorize that. That's wild.
Would argue I didn't memorize it.
So anyway, they're
It's a deeper, more insidious thing.
He's looking around.
I'm sorry. No, I remembered you showed me a picture of hot Hawaiian men.
I haven't put it up yet.
And that's what I was looking for.
We got a postcard from Hawaii and it has a lot of hot Hawaiian men on it. I just haven't put it on the wall yet. So anyway, yeah, their candidate who wants to ban oral and anal sex ends up losing. But
what a loser proposition too, by the way. Like,
no, you have found like
to be
the
graphic,
one thing. Yeah.
But like that's a bipartisan issue. We love it.
The simple pleasures.
Not saying anything else.
They have their foot in the door, and that's what's important. Fall of 2013, rising from the depths of hell, is Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
Who introduces hedge fund billionaire Robert Mercer to SCL elections. There are a couple different sources on how this introduction happened, so I don't know. This is just the one that I saw first and most often. So Robert Mercer agrees. Some sources said $5 million. Another source said $15 million. Who's to be believed? But he invests an insane amount of money into this new SCL venture, which would seek to influence upcoming congressional elections. Here's the thing, because remember that one time that they had a guy in America that got addicted to heroin and gave them a bad name for a while?
Yeah.
So they want to name this branch SCL America, but that's what it was named. So
that was the heroin branch of it all?
Yeah, they're like, we should probably rebrand. And so they get their like a business license or whatever incorporated in Delaware. And then
where you don't have to pay corporate taxes.
Yep. And then do you have any guesses?
What they name it? Mm-hmm. Cambridge Analytica.
Fuck yeah, Cambridge Analytica. Hell yeah. So today we're talking about Cambridge Analytica, where everyone is a motherfucking liar.
The real story is the setup to the story title along the way.
I was like, where do I put the intro? I was like, oh, good. Like a third of the way through. That's good. It's like, but we have to tell the story, and I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, correct.
So some of my sources are like every news corporation, headline, newspaper, whatever that you could ever think of. All of them. But primarily The Great Hack, which is on Netflix, a documentary, and then there's a 2-part series. Okay, so you know how we do that thing where we have talked about this, where we listen to podcasts like in the like
closing hours.
Yeah, closing hours, because we're
own.
like fuck this, like we don't trust them, but like it's good to like fill in some of the blanks.
Right.
So this one I had started a while ago, and I was fully expecting it to just be like something maybe I even stopped halfway through because I was like, these people have no idea what they're talking about, because it's called QAnon Anonymous. And it's hosted by like these 3 guys, and I was like, already 3 is too many.
2 red flags already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best produced podcasts I've ever listened to. It's like documentary style. It's a 2-part thing. They go into like hella depth of this Cambridge Analytica story. They like interview they get all these firsthand accounts. It's actually like wild, the work that they did on this. So anyway, a 2-part series from them, episodes 213 and 214 if you're curious. And then, like I said, every news source ever: The Guardian, The New Yorker, The New York Times, CNBC, Epic, Vice, Washington, CNN, whatever. And then before I get really into this, I already delayed telling this story once with Grant. We were supposed to record last week, and I was like, this story is so complicated. It was like maybe 48 hours after I realized Helen Keller hadn't lied.
Yeah. Disorienting to us all, I'm sure.
Helen Keller the most.
You're sitting on things that are clearly memorials.
As you do. But the reason I had to delay the story is because this story is just so detail rich. And you can only trust like maybe 50% of what you read sometimes. Okay. There's one character in particular that I'll just warn you, don't know if anything's true. Like I could see him lying about literally every single thing. So there's probably a lot of nuance. There's a chance you know things that I'm not going to bring up. Like this isn't an easy story to tell. Like even as I was researching it over the last week, things would happen in the news and I was like, oh no. Like, do I have to connect this to it? Do I have to connect this to the Epstein files? Do I have to connect this to like immigration enforcement, which we'll get to? But, so there's just a lot here. And if you're curious, I guarantee you days worth of information that you could get through. There's so many articles, so much investigative journalism, truly incredible. But this is the story I'm going to tell. So there's that. Where were we with SCL?
They just incorporated in Delaware.
They just incorporated in Delaware.
As Cambridge Analytica.
Yes. And they just did that gubernatorial race in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And they just got a huge investment from Robert Mercer, hosted by Steve Bannon, one of the authors of Project 2025, by the way.
Yeah, a true nightmare person.
An awesome, like truly that man is Darth Vader. And not as in a good way. So in 2013, SCL, who's now expanding, hires 24-year-old Canadian Christopher Wiley. And he has been working on campaigns in the UK and Canada since he was a teenager. He's a big Excel girly, big data superstar. He's impressive by all accounts. He studied law, specializing in technology, media, and intellectual property law. In 2008, he volunteered on the Obama campaign, where he learned about micro-targeting like Obama was doing. While working as a contractor for the Canadian opposition leader, Michael Ignatieff, he began developing strategies on how to utilize data harvested from social media specifically for political gain. In 2009, a year later, the Canadian opposition leader did not renew Chris's contract, and a source would later say that they had increasingly started to believe that Chris's ideas were too invasive.
Yeah.
Another part of his background, in 2012, he was pursuing a PhD in psychology, and he had sent a proposal to Cambridge University titled Cross-Cultural Forecasting of Political Behavior with a Dispositional Situational Model of Personality and Partisanship. In his proposal, he acknowledges that there is a serious chance of data mishandling and that the research itself would depend highly on political parties and super PACs, like political action committees. And so Cambridge University rejected his proposal. And obviously, I don't know the true reason why, but some psychologists and other scientists have said they rejected it because there's no scientific way to test the effectiveness of that.
Okay.
You can't test it on a real population. You can test it in silico, which is basically like a fake society in the computer.
Sure.
But you have no realistic way
because of
having
the ethics of trying to test that.
Because of the ethics, and also you would have to figure out a way to control the situation in a way that you could actually reliably say what we're doing here is altering the course of this election. And just simply by the course of it taking 4 years between presidential elections in the US and 2 years between these, it would be literally impossible to maintain a same situation and have this kind of test. And so Cambridge rejected it. So what he did, Chris Wiley did, truly had the audacity. This man was like, fuck you, I believe in myself. I'm going to skip the academic research part and take this directly to market.
I think I'm ready to make money off this idea.
Yeah, I'm right and you're fucked up. I don't know. And so Christopher did research on the subject of psychographics created using social media data, because that research is out there. That is a lot easier to study. And then he brings this, as well as his past experience in elections, to SCL Elections, now Cambridge Analytica. He continues this specific area of psychology and eventually comes across research done at Cambridge University, which was mapping Facebook likes to personality traits. And that was done by Alexander Kogan. Alexander Kogan is then commissioned by Christopher Wiley and SCL Elections to kind of replicate that experiment for them. And they end up getting 87 million people's data from Facebook. And this number changes depending on the source. I saw anywhere from
Are they purchasing it from Facebook? Is that it?
No, they're running personality tests. BuzzFeed tests. Did you ever do any of those? That was
of course I did.
Yeah, what
log
Hogwarts
in with your
house
Facebook to get oh my god.
The second you log in with
you
your
knew
Facebook.
It was insidious.
Yep. Yep. So they got all that data. And so finally, because of SCL Elections hiring Chris Wiley and Chris Wiley being able to access this data from Alexander Kogan, SCL Elections is actually now able to offer the thing that they've been marketing for all these years without actually being able to offer it.
So they just were able to run out the clock.
They just They fail up. They're like, oh my God. They literally just trip into a pile of gold.
I knew we'd find it.
Meanwhile, all the people managing Alexander Nix were like, oh shit. So they start changing the game. In 2014, Cambridge Analytica officially begins working with Alexander Kogan to deliver the large research project in the US. Alexander Kogan, some of his background is he was a lecturer at the University of Cambridge in the Department of Psychology, and he was using Open Graph, the same thing Obama's 2008 campaign used, to research Facebook users and what might influence their behavior. Open Graph was rolled out in April 10th of 2010 as an API. So it's exactly what Grant was saying. It's a tool that allows applications to kind of cross-communicate. And so what it's doing is like you press login with Facebook and it's like, great, here's this person's name, birthday, profile information.
Hometown, where they live.
And so that's how if you create then a personality test and make it an app, an API that connects with Facebook, you can then get that data from the Facebook users. And apps like Farmville even were doing this. I don't know if Farmville was nefarious, but they were definitely a Facebook game. So Alexander, so there's two Alexanders now. We have Alexander Nix, who is the CEO of SEL Elections, and now we have Alexander Kogan. Alexander Kogan, his name is spelled ALEKSANDR.
Okay.
No E.
I thought you were spelling Kogan, and I was like, whoa, did not expect an A. Alexander.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Alexander, you know. So Alexander founds a company with another researcher named Joseph Chancellor called Global Science Research, GSR. GSR is then behind the app This Is Your Digital Life, is what it was called, all one word, which it was a personality test which harvested data from millions of Facebook users. They also used like a crowdsourcing thing and paid people like a couple bucks to take this personality test. And it was an ocean test or the big 5-factor test. I think everyone has probably taken some version of this. But what it does is it divides your personality up into what they think the 5 big personality traits are. So openness, which is your ability or willingness to try new things. Conscientiousness, which is self-control. Extroversion, sociability. Agreeableness, which is your kindness and empathy. And neuroticism, which is your emotional stability.
Okay.
So it'll rank you on those like 5 things and then kind of sort you into subgroups based off of those 5 things. And when writing about this big 5-factor personality test, Christopher Wiley wrote, this is like while he's working with SEL, maybe before, a person scoring high in conscientiousness, for example, is more likely to do well in school. A person scoring higher in neuroticism is more likely to develop depression. Yes, I did take the test. Yes, I did score relatively high in neuroticism.
Recently or a long time ago?
No, I took it today.
Okay.
It's fine. I got like a 73. It wasn't my highest, but it was definitely concerning.
Not low.
Yeah. Artists and creative people tend to score high in openness. Those who are less open and more conscientious tend to be Republicans. This sounds simple, but the Big 5 model can be an immensely useful tool in predicting voter behavior. Part of the fine print when you agree to take This Is Your Digital Life is that you consented to the data being collected for academic use, and you were also assured that the data would only be used for research, and it would remain anonymous and safe. It would give them your demographic data as well as the likes on your profile. So the things that you have, like the pages you've liked.
Sure.
Did you ever go through like one of those? It was like an app and it was literally just like phrases that you would like. It was like jokes and stuff.
No, that sounds like work.
Yeah, it kind of was.
How many did you think you did?
I don't know. A lot. It was like shit I would do when I was like falling asleep. However, also in the fine print, when you took this personality test, you were allowing it to collect personal information and the likes, not just of you, of your friends on Facebook.
Because your profile has access to that information?
Mm-hmm. Because it's all public at this point. You're not like able to really block off your profile easily. So your likes and all of that are public. And if you say, yeah, go get my friends. Okay. So even though not everyone who they got data from took this personality test, they still had all this information. And so if someone did take the personality test, they could say, okay, this person ranked like this on neuroticism, and these are a list of the things that they like. So we can then assume if people like kind of this same pattern of things, we can assume that maybe they have a same personality profile. In 2014, Facebook users had an average of 340 friends each. And so they got like tens of thousands of people to take the test, which means they got a fuck ton of people's
millions
data.
Of people.
Yes. After one person takes this test, it kind of snowballs the consenting network of individuals that Alexander Kogan can take data from.
Okay.
So this data was then used to generate models of personalities and individuals and kind of create like a testing group in the computer. that they can run tests on. And so one of Alex's business partners boasted on LinkedIn that their company, GSR, quote, owns a massive data pool of 40 million individuals across the United States, for each of whom we have generated detailed characteristics and trait profiles.
Oof.
Okay. Here are my results if you wanted. I scored 90 on openness, 37.5 on conscientiousness, which is self-control. So, yeah. Extroversion was a 75. Agreeableness is 65. I don't think I actually really internalized these results until right now. And neuroticism, 73. Oops.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Kind, not nice. Okay, so there's a contract between SCL and Alexander Kogan's company, GSR.
Okay.
SCL would help fund GSR's data collection in exchange, like getting to use that data to then be able to kind of aggregate it with data that they had, which was probably a lot smaller. But Alexander in 2015 would later, I put in parentheses, lie. And he said, claimed that GSR stored Facebook data anonymously and that he never used data he collected in connection with the university or that company GSR. So do you want to know what some of the like mapping was?
Absolutely. I do.
Okay. This was just some examples given by QAnon Anonymous. Liking Sarah Palin. What do you think that is? What kind of trait?
Closed-mindedness.
Being satisfied in life.
What?
If you liked curly fries and or the Colbert Report and or the Facebook page titled Morgan Freeman's Voice, you had a high IQ, correct?
Oh, well, I love curly fries.
I know.
And vaguely remember the other two things.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman's still alive. You know that, right?
Yeah, and then the third one was Stephen Colbert's Voice.
The Colbert Report.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you liked Marianne Williamson and the Book of Mormon.
The Cristal Girl and
the Book of Mormon, you would be
a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Cooperative.
Kind of feels like we did say the same thing.
Kind of a little bit, yeah. So in 2014, Facebook changed its rules to limit app developers' access of user data. And it focused on ensuring that third parties are not able to access users' friends' data.
Just the entire web of people.
Yeah, without that user's friend's permission.
Right.
And so that API Open Graph was fully shut down in 2015. Cambridge Analytica says that they delete their Facebook data in October 2015. And this theme is liar, liar. I guess we'll see what happens.
They sell the only real asset they have, or they destroy it in October 2015. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Jan.
Yeah. Whatever you say. Around 2014, Christopher Wiley has a crisis of consciousness or fucking whatever and resigns.
I've made enough money, and this is probably a crime. Goodbye.
It's too little too late, buddy. You've single-handedly given them everything they didn't have before.
But here's the thing, and I'm not justifying their behavior at all. This is more of a condemnation on all of us. These people seem smart, but also dumb. And if there's anything I know about smart, but also dumb people, there's plenty of them. Like, if not them, someone else would discover this.
Yeah. I think anyone who would discover this is a little evil.
Yeah.
Like to their core.
Yeah. Our current federal government is like the manifestation of evil in a way we've never experienced before.
In a way I truly cannot.
I'm conservative now about government overreach in a way I never imagined before.
Yes.
Of course these people are evil.
Yeah. So anyway, Christopher Wiley leaves. But don't worry, SCL's fine. SCL's going to figure it out. So now that they have the things that they need, so the data and the like system to analyze that data, they're able to be a lot more successful. They are able to use that data specifically to give you highly targeted video content, video ads. In a promotional video, Alexander Nick says, quote, "The more you know about someone, the more you can align a campaign with their requirements or their wants and needs," which sounds like you're trying to gaslight the voting people.
Right.
But whatever. Professor at the University of Wisconsin, Michael Zimmer, specializes in privacy and internet ethics, and he says this raises a concern, thanks, Mike, about the U.S. packaging voters like their consumers, which is a problem because, I mean, they are, but whatever. Cambridge Analytica claims to have 5,000 data points on every American voter.
Yeah, I could believe that, which is so devastatingly
Deepingly
sad.
upsetting.
Yeah. Like, I am probably one of the most, in our friend group, data skeptical, data concerned, right?
Yeah.
I am aggressively becoming a Luddite in our friend group.
Truly.
And I know they have 499,000 pieces of data for me. Like, all of my efforts in hand-wringing has created no difference in my digital footprint.
Yes, and that's the thing. You can be as private as you want. Even today, we have a lot more like protections from the softwares that we use, but like you personally have no real tangible way of protecting your data.
We have a student on the speech and debate team this year whose informative speech is on, it's not consumer capitalism, it's surveillance capitalism.
Yes, yeah.
And it's a speech that we were liking. For the first half of the school year, we're struggling to like really kind of find that like final grain to like kind of like lock it all in. And then about a month and a half ago at the start of this semester, we were brainstorming for one of their points, and we had this idea. We launched into the research. We wrote it out. It looks great. It feels really good. But it's essentially like the amount of surveillance and data collection that is happening about you right now has essentially eliminated free will.
Oh, yeah.
For you as a person when it comes to basically any kind of choice you think you are making around who you're voting for, what you're watching, even like what coffee shops and restaurants you are going to. Like most of these choices are now beyond any real semblance of your control because you have been filtered.
You don't
not
have
the other
free
way
will
around.
in the truest sense.
Right. Right. And what's so interesting about his speech this year is like we end that whole point about increased polarization because we're not all in the same pool reacting to the same
You're in your own
information.
reality.
Yeah. And so you will interact with someone in a fully different portion of Al Gore's internet. And you're like, what are you talking about? I've never heard about any of that.
Yes.
You know?
It's me whenever Grant tells me what his TikTok feed has been recently. I'm like, we're not on the same shit. Yeah. So Cambridge Analytica's whole thing, now that they have all this power, so they think, is they're not targeting all voters equally. Absolutely not. They're targeting and bringing to the ballot box the people who were on the fence or unregistered or apathetic. They're running the same playbook, but now they actually have the data to support it and the technology to make it happen. So they're able to justify this by then saying, well, we're actually educating the people on their options. What they end up actually doing is their choice. And it's like, yes, but you are spending money to advertise this, not to everyone equally, but to people you think you have a better chance at.
And it's also like, it would again be different if I felt really confident that they were sharing the truth.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I know isn't like ever what campaigns have ever done, but it feels manipulative and gaslighty.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, like, if you believe in an open democracy, that means everyone gets to come to it like as they are, right? Like, is this my way of saying like only people like you and me who are like really informed and well read on the issues?
Ourselves.
Yeah, but also like who think like us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So this data is being taken and analyzed most of the time without the people's consent. They're being force-fed, oftentimes very divisive media, which is designed specifically to sway their opinion one way or another by potentially utilizing this information. So yes, it's a voter's decision, but is it an honest involvement in the democratic process, especially if this highly technical data mining is only happening on behalf of one of the parties? So the personality quizzes that Cambridge Analytica used to form these personality models of the voters in the US, again, like I said, did not target each voter equally. Like, they wouldn't be focusing on me. They wouldn't be focusing on you.
Right.
They would be focusing on Danny or or someone that they thought that's more in the center that they could push one way or another. They called these people the persuadables. And specifically, they focused on the persuadables in battleground states, in swing states.
Mm-hmm.
So this way, a campaign isn't spending a ton of money putting these ads everywhere or even in all the battleground states. They're able to narrow it down to groups of people using data that they shouldn't have.
Specific counties, you know.
Yeah.
Men who live in Jefferson County who have been to the Jefferson County Fair once in the last 3 years, who like monster trucks, but also the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They're actually able to like narrow down the geolocation that they're like targeting these ads as much as like one single city block
I believe that.
or like one building.
Yeah.
So like if you're one particular neighborhood that's having like a water shortage or something, you can bet your ass you're about to see an ad that's going to say that this client is going to do this for this particular region, you know? So creative departments of SCL and Cambridge Analytica crafted basically personalized content to trigger these persuadables. Like terrorists love porous borders. Gaps in border security allow terrorists. So they're being fed a lot of times like rage bait or like in the case of QAnon, things that are like, we have to protect our children, but they're being fed blogs and websites and articles and videos and ads and any kind of media that SCL and Cambridge Analytica can make.
So they're manufacturing a bunch of fake media online to help
essentially,
create this as well.
yeah. And then like pushing out sponsored posts. So they click on something and it's like, you may also like this. And then it's again, like a cult, like QAnon, you go down this rabbit hole, but it's being fed to you, you know? So this personality test would also come into play when deciding specifically what to show that person. So if they have a high score in neuroticism, their ad will play more on emotion. So fear-based advertisements, for example, for like the NRA would be more effective playing like, you have to protect your house or like your family is coming in, like you need to protect yourself. If you had a higher openness score or like a traditional value score, you probably value like family and like trying new things. So you might instead get an ad showing like a father and a son going duck hunting on the weekend. Like that's the kind of thing that they're thinking about when doing these ads. Steve Bannon, if you'll remember, is now involved in Cambridge Analytica, and now Christopher Wiley is not. Around the same time of Christopher Wiley leaving, Steve Bannon becomes VP of Cambridge Analytica, and he would also then go on later to be Trump's campaign manager. He's also the editor of Breitbart, which is an alt-right media source. And he believed if you fundamentally want to change society, you need to break it first and then mold it in your vision. Hence Project 2025, if you're keeping notes. Steve Bannon, specifically, notably, thought that anything that he wants to happen in America, he has to be able to make happen in Britain first. Because he considers Britain to be like the trendsetters. Right?
Interesting.
And so he opens like a Breitbart office in London and starts investing in things that happen in London. And he also believed that the alt-right or the far right needed three things if they're going to escalate their agenda. I don't know. They need a media platform. So hence Breitbart. They need an investigative arm for the government for government accountability. And they need the ability to do their own polling.
Okay.
Hence his investment in Cambridge Analytica.
Their own data and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And so we're going to take a break, refresh. But, and this part is kind of like Mandela effecty because so many people deny it. But there is evidence. I mean, it's absolutely 100% true that Cambridge Analytica worked on Brexit.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone denies it. It's wild.
So Steve Bannon is about to start using perhaps illegally, or if not illegal, nefariously collected data on unbeknownst voters to push a political agenda that is otherwise politically unappetizing to the general public.
Will you tell the listeners and me about Brexit? I didn't have time to Google it.
Sure, would love to. Can actually kind of speed run this in like 90 seconds.
Incredible.
So Brexit is really interesting. The United Kingdom, which is England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, were, for decades, part of the European Union, which meant if you were a British citizen, you could apply for and get a job in France and Germany and Italy, other European Union nations, without having to apply for like a work visa or anything like that. It also created basically one big outer fence that eliminated all these smaller internal fences.
Yeah.
So you could get on a bus in Belgium and take it to Poland, for example, without having to stop at the checkpoint in Germany.
Right.
And so there was a freedom of movement of people and goods, and also like a freedom of skilled workers and things like that. It created something that we would understand as the single market. And it was great for the economy, great for the movement of people. Not great if a big concern for you is how do you stop non-whites from entering a country you perceive as exclusively white?
Yeah.
Or just really kind of any kind of immigrants. Because the another part about the European Union with that free flow of people meant that when refugees showed up within the European Union had to find places to put them.
Right.
So in 2016, it was put to the British voters if they should approve Brexit or not. Should the British people
exit?
It was probably a mistake by, at the time, British leader David Cameron to even put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
He did it to appease, say it with me, the
Boris
far right.
Johnson.
Yeah, the far right in his own political party. So it gets on the ballot. It wins like 51% of the vote, which is shocking. It absolutely stuns. And the lies that get told during the Brexit campaign is like, if we leave Brexit, we don't have to spend all this money on like illegal immigrants, and instead we can spend it on like our national healthcare system.
Sound familiar?
And all these things. And so they do. And Britain is like objectively poorer today, less innovative today, fewer companies today, and really ironically, actually, at the time in 2016 when Brexit was voted on, one of the immigrant groups they scapegoated was Polish people. Polish people, as European Union members, were leaving Poland and working in the United Kingdom. Ironically, now almost a decade later, Poland has a higher GDP per capita than the United Kingdom does.
Go Poland. Good for them.
That's its own complicated country when it comes to its current political situation. No country is currently like standing in the light of the sun. But from a country that was the scapegoat for like, if we keep doing this, we have to share our country with Poland. The United Kingdom, especially the non-London parts of the United Kingdom, would be lucky to be Poland.
Yeah.
And additionally, the non-London parts of the United Kingdom voted heavily to leave, and London voted heavily to stay.
Yeah.
And London is the only part of that country that has even kind of weathered Brexit well. The rest of the country has not fared well.
God, I love the 2020 of time.
The United Kingdom has a lower GDP per capita than the United States state of Mississippi.
Holy shit.
If the United Kingdom were to join the United States, it would be our poorest state. And if you remove London from that equation, by a significant amount.
Well, damn, Jackie. We still love you.
So when we talk about like Cambridge Analytica and Steve Bannon's impact, like who was served by that, but who was manipulated to vote for that? What an absolute corruption of the democratic process.
Yeah. Yeah. So unsure on when exactly Cambridge Analytica became involved in the Brexit campaigns, but essentially a journalist, Carol Cadwallader from The Guardian, who I mentioned earlier, starts writing about Cambridge Analytica, and specifically in relation to Brexit. She lives in London, and Cambridge Analytica later on, I believe now in like 2018, will specifically say that they never worked on the Leave.eu campaign. So there's two, from what I gather, two major Brexit, like pro-Brexit campaigns, and you kind of have to get approval to like be the official campaign for that side. And Leave.eu ended up not getting that distinction. And so there's this whole discourse of like, well, Cambridge Analytica was going to support Leave.eu. So if they both say that they didn't work together on Brexit, that's technically true. But they kind of pretend that like they never, like, what's Brexit?
Right.
Who is she? I don't even know her. But in 2015, at the launch of Leave.eu, a higher up in Cambridge Analytica, who we will talk about later, named Brittany Kaiser, is on stage and telling the media that Cambridge Analytica has begun interviewing people in Britain on behalf of the campaign.
Right. There's like all this documentation that we're like, oh, here we are, an integral part of this campaign.
Already. And they haven't even gotten the information. At this point, after Carol Cadwallader starts to discredit what's going on, Leave.eu starts posting memes of Carol Cadwallader to discredit her and paint her as this like reaching and overreacting woman. One is set to the Russian national anthem. Carol ends up actually losing a lot of stories because the people she was going to do those stories on were literally told her, we want to do this, but we can't afford to be associated with you right now. So that's fun. By 2017, everyone involved starts denying Cambridge Analytica had anything to do with Brexit. And so, like I said, there's two main campaigns. The one that actually ended up getting the designation was the one led by Boris Johnson, which was Vote Leave was the name of the campaign. So Vote Leave gets the designation, and they spend like £7 million in the 3 months before the referendum. And they have an incredibly strong campaign, which includes, again, not Cambridge Analytica, but a digital arm that sought to mobilize groups historically anti-EU. And this digital arm also focused on those less likely to vote, specifically people on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale. Mm-hmm. Obviously, history shows the Brexit campaign won, Vote Leave won, and Britain left the EU. And after the campaign, documents are released by the Electoral Commission. Again, remember, Cambridge Analytica has been adamant saying that they were not involved in Brexit. The Electoral Commission shows that Vote Leave paid, of their £7 million, £3.9 million to a tiny digital software company called Aggregate IQ, which was operating out of Victoria, British Columbia. Vote Leave's campaign director, Dominic Cummings, is quoted saying, "Without a doubt, the Vote Leave campaign owes a great deal of its success to the work of Aggregate IQ. We couldn't have done it without them." So who is Aggregate IQ? I've been talking about Cambridge Analytica this whole time. Well, in 2017, The Observer started investigating, and they called Aggregate IQ, and it rang to SCL Canada's office.
Right.
After someone found that out, SCL removed the SCL Canada number from their website and claimed, oh, that was an outdated number for an old contractor who did no work for Vote Leave.
Right.
Vote Leave was founded in 2013 and made up of coders and developers that Christopher Wiley brought to Cambridge Analytica. It was like that BDI, the initial like in-house research firm. It was acting as an in-house like data analyst firm. But I think part of it was maybe because Cambridge Analytica was already associated with Vote.eu. So they found another backdoor way to be associated with Vote Leave, and still they win either way. And so in 2014, Carol Cadwallader, this woman's a fucking bulldog, dude, finds a document that assigns Aggregate IQ's intellectual property to Cambridge Analytica. Mm-hmm. So
it's just a shell company for the work that they did.
Basically.
And by 2017, Brexit is growing unpopular. And also, we're starting to understand, I'm assuming, the extent of what they did, if I remember the Cambridge Analytica news coverage. And so they're like, no, we're like a super good company.
Everything's fine, yeah.
That like helps sell popsicles, and Facebook gave us the gun anyways. And we weren't involved with any of these decisions that people now regret.
No, not at all. An employee from either Aggregate IQ or SCL says that they truly don't believe Aggregate IQ could have produced and given the product that they gave to Vote.leave without SCL's involvement. Because again, one is just a part of another, you know? The ads used for Brexit would not be dissimilar to the kinds of ads used for Republican campaigns in the US. Fear-based, obviously. And like, this is something that they used during Brexit. Quote, European Commission report admits Turkish visa-free travel will increase mobility of criminals and terrorists within the EU.
Turkey, criminals, visa-free, gotta Vote Leave.
Mm-hmm. Sound familiar? By 2015, Cambridge Analytica is hired to work on the Ted Cruz campaign. In December of 2015, The Guardian, not Carol Cadwallader, but she gets on it soon, breaks a story, and it reveals that the Ted Cruz presidential campaign had access to data from tens of millions of Facebook users, which had been allegedly gathered without the permission of the users. I have two quotes for you to read, and then you can read the bullet point in between.
The first one's from The Guardian.
Mm-hmm. They're both from The Guardian.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Quote, a little-known data company now embedded within Cruz's campaign and indirectly financed by his primary billionaire benefactor, Robert Mercer, paid researchers at Cambridge University to gather detailed psychological profiles about the U.S. electorate using a massive pool of mainly unwitting U.S. Facebook users built with an online survey. The little-known data company was using psychographic profiles. Quote, in a race to advance data-driven electioneering strategies pioneered by successive Obama campaigns, Cruz has turned to Cambridge Analytica for its unparalleled offering of psychological data based on a treasure trove of Facebook likes, allowing it to match individual traits with existing voter data sets, such as who owned a gun.
Yeah. The FEC, the Federal Election Commission, which is supposed to regulate campaign donations and stuff like that, showed that Ted's campaign paid Cambridge Analytica at least $750,000 in 2015. Cambridge Analytica also received about $2.5 million between 2013 and 2015 from conservative super PACs, again, that Robert Mercer or other members of his family have also donated to. So if you didn't catch that, Cambridge Analytica is funded by Robert Mercer, in part at least. Robert Mercer also funds Ted Cruz, that is now hiring Cambridge Analytica. So it's a bit of a circle, if you will. Cambridge Analytica also ended up working on Ben Carson's campaign.
Oh, that's funny.
I think there is sources from Ben Carson's campaign that was these people have no idea what they're doing. Fucking hilarious. Prior to the news about Ted Cruz's campaign breaking in 2015, FEC filings showed that Cambridge Analytica had also worked on some of the 2014 midterm candidates. During that time, they were funded by a super PAC and therefore supported the candidates that super PAC supported. Super PACs funded probably by Robert Mercer, at least in part. And so if you don't believe billionaires are just inherently evil,
right?
What the fuck is this?
And actively looking to subvert the will of voters who would come for them if they knew the extent of their
Cambridge Analytica developed a series of TV ads, each aimed at different personality types, and then aired those ads when they predicted those personality types would most likely be watching TV. On the Cruz campaign, they also use this data to help prepare canvassers before those canvassers approach certain houses. So it'd be we know who lives here. This is what our data says about their personality. This is how we think you should best, the personality you should show.
This person's physical address matches up with this person's Facebook profile. Here's what you should say.
Yep. Here's how you should come off.
Crazy he still lost the primary.
Truly. Truly. So this is called psychographic targeting and micro-targeting. So Ted Cruz, I didn't want to actually look at Ted Cruz's actual polling data. One of the sources said he went from one of the lowest ranking candidates to being the last man standing next to Trump before the Republican primaries. Another source said that when Cambridge Analytica joined, he was polling at 28%. At the end, he was polling at 27.5% or something like that. So it's did Cambridge Analytica help, or is someone lying?
Right.
Anyway, Teddy Boy, Ted Cruz, is a loud critic of government overreach. So just really upsetting that he would then be but capitalist overreach.
Right, is good.
Is totally okay.
Correct, especially in an unfree, monopolized market.
Yeah, especially when I'm not yet the government, Yeah, they were pulling data from not only this Facebook treasure trove that they have, again, still from Alexander Kogan. A data set, by the way, that they can no longer update.
Okay.
Because Facebook has closed that off. They're not supposed to have this data anymore, but they're also using it in conjunction with more publicly available data or data available for purchase, like consumer habits, public Facebook posts. There are more nefarious things that Ted Cruz's campaign is doing. They have an app called Cruz Crew that kept supporters in touch while also allowing the campaign to scrape the voters' phones for contacts.
Of the voters' phones?
Yeah. So a voter would download the app. The app would then go here, we'll connect you. Just give us access to your contacts. You would click allow.
This whole episode is reminding me why I still click reject all non-essentials,
Yes.
why I have never shared contacts with anybody ever.
And this is why.
Snapchat's hi, sorry, we noticed we only have access to 3 photos you took in 2014 when you first
Do you
downloaded
want
this.
to
Give us all unlimited and forever. And I'm no, literally
So here's the thing is that if you could get anything on me. You probably, you could clock me pretty hard right now. My data, I don't have any, the ADHD, the depression, the anxiety collectively have been can't see it, doesn't matter.
When you plug your phone in on the plane and your phone's do you want to share all of your data with the plane?
God.
No.
Go for it. Just let me through.
If I have to unplug, if that's a requirement for me plugging in, I'll unplug. That's fine. I would rather have a dead phone than a United Airlines Boeing 747 having my mom's phone number.
And do
I don't know, and I'm not interested in finding out. Get her to vote for Ted Cruz? No, I'm kidding. She would never.
Ted Cruz's campaign also employed geofencing, which I talked to you about earlier, so they could target areas as small as like a city block or one building. This was utilized, for example, when there was a Republican Jewish coalition meeting at a Vegas hotel. The Cruz campaign used geofencing to push ads that emphasized Ted Cruz's devotion to Israel and its security to that hotel only.
That makes me feel good and not at all concerned or sad at all. It's like the Super Bowl ad. Obviously, it was on my television at one point, but I don't think any of us saw it.
None of us were paying. AI.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. Betting.
We're Ring Camera. And for the low price of being observed all the time forever, we could help you find your dog. And it's like, has Ring Camera been stealing dogs?
Or people?
Is that a new feature coming or one that we get to opt out of?
That would be lovely to know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well.
After
does remind me of a story, though.
Yeah?
About you.
What did
More on the Patreon. More on the Patreon.
I haven't figured out how to delete myself, but I have figured out how to mute the notifications. Because, like, immediately after I continued to get, like, 3 notifications, I was like, don't click on it. You already freaked him out. Don't click on it.
Interesting. Because that would then insinuate that you would get notifications when someone breaks into my house to change the artwork.
Even if I did, I don't check my phone.
Listen to how the witness squirms on the witness stand.
I'm not squirming. Bitch, if I knew who was breaking into your house, I would tell you. I don't click on those notifications. Sometimes, like 3 hours later, I'm like, my DoorDash is here.
That's fair. Anyways, enough about our own personal relationship with data farming. What was Cambridge Analytica doing?
So, The Guardian in 2015 is like, Cambridge Analytica is over here doing this on Ted Cruz's campaign. And immediately after, Cambridge Analytica refuses to comment. A spokesperson from Ted's campaign claims that we did our due diligence before contracting Cambridge Analytica, okay? We didn't just hire them because Robert Mercer told us to. And also, Cambridge Analytica told us that the data was acquired legally and with the permissions of the users when they sign up to Facebook.
Ooh.
What? Ooh. Also, no, incorrect.
And how am I legally able to consent to that at age 13 when the technology for this doesn't exist at the time?
Truly. So Facebook then comes out saying that they would carefully investigate the situation, saying that the misuse of information was in violation of their policies. A senior data analyst at the ACLU, Christopher Sogian, I definitely didn't pronounce that right, Soghoian, no idea, said this is troubling and it highlighted shortcomings by the FEC, who were supposed to regulate what campaigns do with data or do with their money. And he said, quote, what it essentially means is there is no one regulating campaigns' privacy data and security practices. So it means you have the Wild West where campaigns can do whatever they want and get away with it. So as we know, Ted Cruz did not win the primaries.
Right.
Which then meant Cambridge Analytica just kind of stumbled and fell into working for the Trump campaign.
Of course they did.
Which Robert Mercer conveniently now supported. Super helpful. And so they are able to continue using all the data that they had collected during the Ted Cruz campaign and then use it on the Trump campaign. Here are some fun facts. The Trump campaign headquarters was on the set of The Apprentice.
I believe that.
That's so fucking weird, dude.
It's sad. It's just
so
really sad.
It's so sad. The digital arm of the Trump election was called Project Alamo. At its peak, it was spending $1 million a day on Facebook ads.
What?
Isn't that just wild? A day.
On Facebook ads is also just crazy. Like I don't know if I've ever clicked on a Facebook ad ever.
Yeah.
It'll clock me that like, hey, gay boy, here's some Calvin Klein underwear ads. Scroll away if you want. It's going to follow you on your screen.
You're like, oh, good. I can keep looking at what I'm interested in. Cambridge Analytica was working on Project Alamo, and it was considered by many the brain of that organization. Mm-hmm. They actually developed the Defeat Crooked Hillary campaign and pushed it and allowed it to grow. They're very proud. There's undercover footage of someone from Cambridge Analytica bragging about how clever it was that someone had designed the 2 O's in crooked to be handcuffs.
So I went on Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
Have you been on that before? I had to get like an Adobe account or whatever.
Adobo, I think you mean.
It's like a literal criminal operation. It's like, better watch out for the Secretary of State.
Yeah. So we just talked about how much Trump was spending on campaign or on ads and stuff. And so Trump's 2016 digital campaign, he used the same director in the 2020 election. I'm not sure about 2024. But in 2026, they used 5.9 million like separate visual ads on Facebook, like because of all the micro-targeting that they were doing. How many do you think Hillary's team used?
1?
66,000.
Okay.
Compared to 5.9 million.
Wow.
There's also evidence that the Russian government was using Facebook tools in the U.S.
Right.
Yeah. Evidence showed the Russian government created fake BLM memes, and then when they were clicked on, they would be taken to pages which would invite them to show up to protest for BLM, protests organized by the Russian government. At the same time, they were also doing the same exact thing for Blue Lives Matter. So they were organizing protests for opposing groups to further divide a country.
To like continue to instigate, like, okay.
Yep. As a reminder about reality winner, friend of the pod, she was convicted in 2017 for leaking classified documents which exposed Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election. So this is known information. And if you want to learn more about Reality Winner's case, Grant did an episode 74, called Winners and Losers.
We're still the losers, in case you're wondering what that title is.
Yeah.
Kind of also just a crazy episode that like got put together.
I think about that a lot. So we're going to have a whistleblower. March 17th, 2018, The Guardian and the New York Times break the story. Christopher Wiley comes forward to
Not the name I thought I was going to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
He comes forward to freelance journalist Carol Cadwalader, claiming that Cambridge Analytica used the data of 50 million Facebook profiles to do their social modeling. In the documents released, it exposed Cambridge Analytica for unauthorized possession of private data from up to 87 million Facebook users gathered for the purpose of political campaign micro-targeting. Facebook's immediate response was to announce it had suspended Cambridge Analytica and SEL's access to that data.
Any new data. Like, obviously, you're going to have access to all the data that you have.
That's fine. Within a few days, they announced new measures to better protect people's data. Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, outlined how they were going to be doing a full audit and investigation of the apps that had access to large amounts of data. Mark also announced new restrictions on how accessible individuals' data is to developers. U.S. and British officials immediately held hearings regarding that scandal. You probably remember it was big news for, I think, everyone, even me, who was not politically aware at the time. The EU, Canada, and India would also hold hearings later on. Here is a picture of Christopher Wiley. He do be gay, Canadian, and vegan, so it's absolutely wild that he, like, single-handedly, according to him, created the, like, software to destroy democracy.
What?
Describe him to the people.
Well, first, he'd absolutely hit it off in Denver. Let's just go ahead and say that.
He is like half the twinks I've seen in Denver.
Yeah. Sorry, before I will describe him, listener, is he a conservative or just a computer bro?
Dude, I don't know. We're going to talk more about it.
Okay. So he has a septum piercing, white guy, so definitely has a Canadian face. You know what I mean? Like but like kind of boring. I'm kidding. Canada. I am kidding. You guys will save us one day.
Please.
Beard, pretty short, hair buzzed on the sides, and then just like an inch and a half long on the top. But it's like a nice fuchsia pink, kind of like rich, almost fiery red. Army jacket on, but not really an army jacket, and it looks like it has like a sun painted on it. And then because of the army jacket, it kind of looks like dog tags, but maybe is actually just a necklace. And then I do believe at least in one ear we have a piercing.
He looks like what the GOP envisions when they say gay agenda.
Yeah, he absolutely can make you a lavender oat milk latte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a killer one.
Yeah.
He would somehow upsell me.
Yeah. But I also believe he is smoking a cigarette outside the bar with a PBR on a Friday night.
Yes, or a Montucky.
Yeah. Love a Montucky.
Okay, I need to go back because on the way to F45, I decided I was going to rearrange this part. So when he comes forward, a lot of people are like, oh my God, thank you so much for really like blowing the whistle on this. Like most people didn't understand like what was going on. You're really like, Carol Cadwalader she does like an interview with NPR and she's like, he is like brilliant. To be fair, I do think he is really smart. The way he talks in some of his stuff, you're like, oh, like you had a thesaurus at one point and really got into that bitch. Like some of the things you're saying are like, you think you're really edgy in how you're
really
saying
got
it.
into it.
Yeah, and it's weird. I do think he's smart. One of my big things against Carol Cadwalader is that, and to be fair, I haven't read all of her work, but in the stuff I saw, she had nothing but praise for Christopher Wiley, and I don't know that he deserves all of that.
He opens Pandora's box.
He does. And another thing is some other employee, like coworkers that he had at Cambridge Analytica and SCL, and after the fact, people that just knew him were like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Because 2014, Christopher Wiley leaves Cambridge Analytica. Then, in 2014, co-founds Unoya Tech, which would later be criticized of employing similar psychographic profiling tactics as Cambridge Analytica and using the same data set from Alexander Kogan.
Like, so just like took it along with
And then
them.
just said, that's for me now, thank you. In a later parliamentary hearing, there's testimony that said Cambridge Analytica actually never had access to the full data set from Alexander Kogan. Unoya did.
Whoa.
Cambridge Analytica only had about 4% of it. Which again is like, you were just ineffective. But also, what the fuck is this bitch doing?
Right.
What are you talking about?
What did Ugoya work on, you know?
Yeah. Unoya, I guess, is like the Greek goddess of intelligence or something. I don't know. It sounds like you're annoying me.
And pretentious.
Yes, exactly. Around Easter of 2015, Unoya pitched themselves to the Trump campaign.
Of course they did.
A few days before Cambridge Analytica's Alexander Nix would then pitch to the same person. Somehow, Cambridge Analytica finds out, and they're able to, I don't know if they sue or like tell him to stop or whatever. Yeah. There's a violation of a non-compete or an NDA that Christopher had signed that Unoya, because Christopher Wiley is like the co-founder of it, cannot go after like the same clientele. And also, why the fuck are you using our data set?
Right.
Why the fuck are you using our analysis?
Why are you using our illegally gathered super evil data set?
Yeah. And so they have to stop what they're doing. And in 2016,
Ugoya has to stop.
Unoya, yeah.
Thank you.
In 2016, 2017, around that time, Unoya officially flops.
Okay.
But you can see why there could be another motive for Christopher Wiley, aside from just being like, I'm doing what's right for the country.
If Cambridge collapses, then he can go back to doing this kind of work.
He's also pissed off that they took this from him. Oh, yeah. And then he also will like continue to claim that he never knew that some of this data he was harvesting was going to be used for political gain. He will later claim in a book that he wrote that he was hired by SCL to help, like, quote, combat extremism online, and then also help like the military with some like psychological profiling. And that was just never true. The people have been able to find Christopher Wiley's actual resume he submitted for the position that he got, as well as the job listing. Neither of those things were on either one, and he is very explicit in his cover letter that he knows exactly what that job is for. He knows exactly that it's for politics. And also there's a whole precedent set before this when he like wanted to go to the University of Cambridge for like using this psychographic data to influence politics, and they said no. And so it's just like...
his entire career has been built around this. It's not
he's
like
a motherfucking liar.
Yeah.
He's a liar. And like he will go on later, and people have called him out on this shit. He will be like, we as a society need to stop expecting whistleblowers to be perfect. And it's like, you're not wrong. Like, because they're a whistleblower, they've been involved in something, but you are lying.
Right.
You're lying about who you are, about your motives, about all this. So like, not only are you being a disservice to this whole thing that you're trying to stand up for by disproving yourself. Like, you're not someone worthy of us considering a hero.
Right.
But he's like, no.
Especially like in this show where like we have gotten into like the work of whistleblowers like Reality Winner.
That genuinely do it because they feel like they need to for the sake. And it's like, this guy can say as much as he wants that he's doing it for the sake of the country.
And also like the idea that like we shouldn't expect whistleblowers to be perfect. Yeah, like maybe I don't necessarily like agree with like the politics or perspectives or disposition of like every whistleblower that comes out.
Yeah.
Or like maybe even necessarily the motives. But the one thing I do need to be able to agree with them on is like their work and their intention during this part of it all.
Yes. I just don't believe for a fucking second. There's also a DM from one of Christopher's friends that the friend then shared, where Christopher Wiley is talking about the idea of starting a new company that wouldn't be beholden to SCL, and they could do all the tactics they would do. He worked for SCL for 9 months total.
Okay.
But he, like, the way he talks about it is like he single-handedly created this whole software. And it's like, sure, you maybe had one of the like budding ideas, but I don't know that I believe you could do that in 9 months. His story always also seems to be changing. He wrote a book about this fiasco where he claimed the job posting he responded to for SEL stated that they were looking for someone to help combat extremism online, and that the firm was looking for data people for some behavioral project involving the military. Like, I told you why all of that was wrong, but also that second point for the military, that's not something SEL Elections or Cambridge Analytica would have been hiring for. That would have been SEL Defense. And so he also pitched the Trump campaign and then lost to SCL, Cambridge Analytica. And before he left SCL, he sent a DM to his friend explaining how they could spin off from SCL. And he was clear that he understood that they would still have to be using the data for something morally questionable like elections to make it profitable, to make the company profitable. And then, quote, "We cleanse our souls with other projects like using data for good rather than evil." Continued quote, "But evil pays more and evil can be sexier." Winky face.
Yikes.
Yeah. Another thing conveniently changed in his book where he claimed he was trying to use the data for good and be the underdog who kept the evil tool out of the hands of people like Robert Mercer. And then he goes on to say that he's going to keep fucking doing it just under his own name.
To be a vegan and then also help climate deniers win elections
is shocking.
Yeah.
Deeply upsetting. And the way he talks about the work that he was doing privately in 2013 makes it difficult to believe he had a sudden change of heart, because he clearly fetishized working for morally corrupt people. He was like talking to the same friend about, they were like going to Russia and going on bear hunts to like sell these things. And he thought, he was like, oh my God, I've been working with these evil clients for too long that I think this is so fun. And like, what the fuck?
Men are just morally conflicted sometimes, Maya.
You're helping the right? Bro, you are the gayest
bears.
You're the gayest looking person I've ever seen. What the fuck?
Wow. Kidding.
To be clear, yeah, in his defense, he would later say society needs to be more understanding of whistleblowers. We talked about that. So there's some hearings we're going to talk about. There's a lot of hearings. I'm going to talk specifically mainly about ones in 2018, but there's a lot of hearings about like misinformation and all the stuff that happened in the years prior and the years following. So one of the immediate hearings from Zuckerberg, this is the quote, it's just the first bullet.
Chairman Grassley and members of the committee, my top priority has always been our social mission of connecting people, building community, and bringing the world closer together. But it's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well. Before I talk about the steps we're taking to address them, I want to talk about how we got here. When we first contacted Cambridge Analytica, they told us that they had deleted the data. About a month ago, we heard news reports that suggested that wasn't true. Duh.
Duh. Duh, Mark. Duh. If you're half as smart as you think you are, you should have known. Facebook will deny involvement with Cambridge Analytica, especially with respect to Project Alamo, the digital arm of the Trump campaign. Cambridge Analytica will quickly just kind of become the scapegoat for everything because they were evil and corrupt and did a lot of shitty things, and I think they deserved that. So that's fine. Alexander Nix gets suspended as CEO, and then Cambridge Analytica conveniently announces that they plan to shut down and file for bankruptcy in the UK and the US, both Cambridge Analytica and SEL elections. And people believe that they did this because they were trying to limit or restrict the ability to investigate and get evidence out of them. This is Alexander Nix.
Oof.
He just looks like a supervillain.
He looks like the person who actually is a turncoat and a traitor in a James Bond movie.
He does.
Yeah, like he's looking for the government, and then he's like, "Oh, don't you know? My family's been hunting endangered penguins for centuries
and bears.
Yes,
in Russia.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that. In 2018, on March 27th specifically, the UK Parliament holds a fake news inquiry. At this hearing, Christopher Wiley testifies. And he specifically brings up the name Brittany Kaiser. Brittany Kaiser, I mentioned once before, she is the higher up that is seen at the launch of the Leave.eu campaign. And everyone's like, her. That
Right.
was Cambridge Analytica. And then Cambridge Analytica is like, we were literally never there. We don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And
We more exist in the background, in the shadows.
Yeah.
As a series of several different shell companies.
that all feed each other, and then one goes bankrupt, we eat it like Pac-Man.
And Enron.
Yeah. What? So Brittany is a complicated character. She does end up being somewhat of a whistleblower as well. I do think her intentions are much less morally questionable than Chris Wiley, but just to mention, I mean, Chris Wiley was there for 9 months and then left, claiming a crisis of consciousness or whatever. And then he chose to do all this other shit that's like,
more like a crisis of not making as much money as
you wanted to be making more. Brittany, however, worked with Cambridge Analytica for 3.5 years.
Okay.
So people are like, you had a lot of opportunities.
You went to the
leave.
holiday party.
Yeah, like, why did you do that? She plays a pretty big role in the Great Hack documentary, and a lot of it is like a journalist specifically like talking to her and like traveling with her to get to some of these hearings and stuff like that, and just asking her questions. And you can tell she's still processing some of what happened. And I think she's been like, I don't want to say brainwashed, but there are times when the journalist asks her things and you can see on her face that she had never thought about it like that before. Or
okay.
like that's, yeah. So when asked on the documentary why she did what she did, quote, "I'm not that interested in standing up for powerful white men anymore who obviously don't have anybody's best interest at heart."
Right, babes. Right.
Correct. Yeah. So she, at the time for Cambridge Analytica, was director of business development. So she was a top executive at Cambridge Analytica until she turned whistleblower. To further tell you how deep ingrained she was in Cambridge Analytica, she had a key to Steve Bannon's DC townhouse.
Whoa.
She spoke at CPAC in 2016 with Kellyanne Conway.
Not a good person.
No, she was at the Trump victory parties. She likely is the person that wrote the Trump campaign contract between Cambridge Analytica and the Trump campaign, and was obviously a pretty big player in the Brexit campaign because she was literally there at the on the panel answering questions at the launch. The time of the documentary, she's living in Thailand, and she's like, one of the first things she says is like, yeah, I have a lot of information on some very powerful people, so I don't really need a geotag on where I'm at specifically. And it was like,
fair enough.
Fair enough.
Wouldn't have shared that I'm in Thailand, though.
No, it's not all that big.
Nope.
So she will further go on to explain why she did what she did by saying she had a friend like force her into a come to Jesus moment by asking her if she would be okay with how her story would be perceived.
Oh, I'd never thought about myself before. Oh, God, no.
I kind of think she took like drugs for the first time and was like, oh my God.
It's like Colorado gets bluer and bluer every year.
The first thing that they show you in the documentary, like, you don't know who Brittany Kaiser is at all. She's at like Woodstock. And they're like doing that they burn some like huge totem and people write stuff on it, and she writes Cambridge Analytica on this thing. So funny.
Her name's Brittany Kaiser.
Yeah, I have a picture of her.
Okay.
You want to see?
Yes, please.
This is her.
Listener, she looks like the woman that is allowed to speak at a mega church before the pastor comes on. Hey, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I was at HEB the other day, and I was thinking, you know who also serving produce?
Jesus.
Anyways, for all you women looking to talk for the first time this week, come join me for my women's group. All right, man, give it up for our man, Father Rick, or whatever.
Okay, but you hear her talk now, and you're like, you've smoked a lot of weed.
Look at this, okay? I always love the Instagram, not the Instagram,
yeah.
I mean also the Instagram, but also just like the Google image journey that people go on.
Yes.
But see, here's the thing. This makes it look like A, she's gone on a journey, and B, no, she hasn't, you know?
The blush is a lot.
Yeah.
I think her journey will explain some of how she presents
the
to you.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders School of Makeup application was strong on her for a while.
God.
All right, I'm back to you.
Okay. So before Brittany was at Cambridge Analytica, she, like Christopher Wiley, had started working on elections when she was pretty young, starting in 2007, 2008, when she was like 14 or 15. She was part of the team running Obama's Facebook during the 2008 election.
What?
Yeah, isn't it crazy how two people working on Obama's 2008 campaign both like full circle it into working on the Trump campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Trump's campaign, or Obama's campaign was so good, it inspired villains.
Even conservatives worked for the Obama campaign.
Yeah, that's nuts. She then, after that, worked for several years working on human rights and international relations. She worked for Amnesty International. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. She lobbied at the United Nations and the European Parliament. Basically, she was never offered a paid position with Obama's campaign or Hillary's campaign. And then her family lost all their money starting in 2008 with the financial crisis, and they lost their home in 2014. Her father, who was the breadwinner, started having health issues, leaving her to be the breadwinner, and working on humanitarian issues was not paying.
Do it.
She says that she used to love working for human rights, but often felt like she was banging her head against a brick wall. Yeah, fair. Largely because there is no easy way to see if she was making a difference or wasting her time. And that's when she met Alexander Nix.
Whew. So he finds her at a low point in her life, and she has the exact skills he needs.
Yep. Alexander and Brittany are introduced, and Alexander was immediately interested in her experience working with the Democrats. He gave her his business card and said, "Let me get you drunk and steal your secrets." Alexander Nix, I looked up, not in the Epstein files, which is crazy because he seems like a creep. Oh, Nigel Oakley is in the Epstein files.
Obviously. Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Obviously.
Also, former DJ.
What? Also, he's a former DJ? So sometimes, friends, we get really into our research. And as at least a person who's like always kind of concerned with like the information I'm shared, and you too, we're not above finding it on them. You know, we're not opposed to our own subjects going under the microscope.
Caleb Ewan being like, trans women aren't a failure to create a man or a woman. Trans women are God trying and succeeding at creating a DJ.
Take me back to the cabin.
So
I'm so excited for that trip. I want you to know.
Yeah. It'll be good. I'll only be there for like one day, but it's fine.
Still be a great time.
Okay. So in December of 2014, he offers her a job. It's around the same time that her family loses their house. So she takes it. And she is able, while working at Cambridge Analytica, a lot of things happen. She's getting paid for the first time working on a campaign. She's actually directly able to see the effects of her work through Cambridge Analytica, and that's not something she had working for humanitarian, right? So it's just a lot of changes for her. And as we talked about in the cult episode, that's the primary time to strike. To make someone weird, I guess. And so her entire personality begins to shift, and she like scrolls through like her Instagram and stuff. She gets a gun. She like buys cowboy boots. She starts attending NRA meetings. She was starting to get along better with the people she had typically disagreed with, like grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. Yeah. Oof. She started dressing different. At the time of recording The Great Hack, though, she's back to who she normally was. Brittany is helping draft questions for senators to ask Mark Zuckerberg during the hearing.
She's like, get him, boys.
Yeah, she's like, get him. Yeah.
Okay.
So Brittany Kaiser is called to testify at some of these hearings. These are going to be quotes from the hearing in the UK. Something of note, Mark Zuckerberg testified for the US. He never testified for the UK.
Okay.
Part of it is, I think, because the UK already had stricter data privacy laws and were, I think, just seen as more intense. One of the sources said even like the journalists between the United States and the UK are different. It feels like the UK journalists tend to be more aggressive, have more hard-hitting questions than the American ones, which I found interesting. While doing some of her like research to like kind of refresh her memory on stuff that was going on, Brittany Kaiser finds a pitch that had been created in February of 2016. February of 2016, which was after Cambridge Analytica said to Facebook that they had deleted that data. And in that pitch, it still says that they have the data from 30 million individuals.
Oh, so never deleted it.
No. She also finds an email from a senior data scientist in March of 2016 saying that they were still using Facebook data in their modeling, which again is also a problem because that data hasn't been updated.
Right.
Since what, like 2014, like 2013,
I no longer
2014?
Like Harry Potter book series.
Yeah. I don't like J.K. Rowling anymore. So all of this correspondence happened 6 to 8 weeks after their chief data officer had said publicly to Facebook they had deleted the data sets. Brittany testifies in front of the UK and directly contradicts a lot of Alexander Nix's previous statements. She gets asked how many data points, aka survey results, they would need in order to create a basis for targeting an entire country. I'll have you read this. Each data point or each bullet point is like, it's like a conversation. So the first one is her, and then the subsequent ones are like the people asking questions.
I'm not a data scientist, so I wouldn't be able to say the minimum number of data points that you would require. But I do know that their targeting tool used to be export controlled by the British government. So that would mean that the methodology was considered a weapon, weapons grade communication tactics. What you're saying is the proposal was for leave.eu to use what you call weapons grade communication techniques against the UK population. Yes, sir. This means, that's probably for you.
Yeah, you could say it.
This means the data they had was illegal to use without the direct permission of the UK government. There's one more quote underneath that. Do you want me to?
Oh, yeah, sure.
The sole worth of Google and Facebook is the fact that they own and possess and hold and use the personal data of people from all around the world. So I think the best way to move forward is for people to really process their data like their property, possess their data like their property.
Mm-hmm. Which is just nuts. Friendly reminder, if you're using a software or a program and it's free,
you're the
guess
product.
who's the commodity?
Right.
You are. It's your attention. During Alexander's testimony, which happens, I think it's like scheduled for the subsequent day, but then he like claims that he can't testify, so it gets delayed like a number of weeks. He continues denying involvement in things that like everyone at this point knows Cambridge Analytica was involved in, like Brexit and leave.eu. When he was kind of told off by one of the people running the hearing that that he was painting himself to be the victim and like SCL and Cambridge Analytica, he says, "What if I was the victim? What happens if, as some of these investigations are concluded, people realize that actually we were simply the guys who were perceived to have contributed to the Trump campaign and were wrongly accredited with being the architects of Brexit? And as a result of the polarizing nature of those two political campaigns, the global liberal media took umbrage and decided to put us in their crosshairs and launch a coordinated attack on us as a company in order to destroy our reputations and our business. And all of this was underpinned by a stream of allegations, unfounded, groundless allegations that came from Mr. Wiley, who gave the media the ammunition they needed, that they wanted to be able to attack us for something that, in the case of Brexit, we simply didn't do."
The only lie in that entire statement is the idea that the global media is controlled by liberals when it is a for-profit organization ran by billionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As people who believe the media should be like run by the people for the people.
It's so sad to think now that like the liberal media was just like, people who can read this. Meanwhile, billionaires were like, how do I distort this to make more money for myself?
How do I make it so that only the rich read this?
What if we took the news out of the news? Would that help make more money?
Would that be
good? It
good?
would make me more money.
Yes. Basically, the conclusion of that hearing is that the British government decides that they don't have the laws or the oversight infrastructure to be able to ensure this kind of thing doesn't happen again. So that's good and reassuring. So the question, Grant, is should this be allowed?
No, obviously weapons-grade communication used to subvert the will of the people and undermine the basic functioning of our democracy shouldn't be allowed.
I mean, it's being used on us every day in consumer markets.
You already know my thoughts on that. I went to the Nuggets game last night. The fact that I have to have the Ticketmaster app to access it infuriates me. And if I don't want to use the Ticketmaster app, the only other option I have
is to print it.
No, that's not an option. Is to add it to my Apple Wallet, a different app. I'm furious that basic functioning in American society today demands that you continue to update and feed this profile that is used to tell you what you want to hear, to let you know that you were wrong. Here are your cultural opinions now. And sure, every now and then we get something super fucking cool like Heated Rivalry. And for the last 3 goddamn elections in a row, we've had a person being like, I'm a fascist with a gun, I'll shoot people.
Yeah.
And 49.81% of this population's like, I don't know, I don't think he's a fascist. I don't think he's shooting people. Sure, he's saying fascist things and shooting people right now. But
sure, he's saying predatory things about his wife and that 10-year-old girl and all of these people. But did you see Joe Biden hug that little girl?
Why believe what I can see with my eyes when instead I could believe lies being tailor crafted to me because I went to a Nuggets game one day in February?
I understand that I'm seeing the Epstein files and the crimes in them, but this is a hoax because it goes against what I believe.
Thank you so much for this opportunity because I get a chance now to repeat a speech I have done today already.
Perfect.
Happened in period 3, one of my advanced classes. Some of the kids were sharing. It's a smaller class, so sometimes kids have more of a time to like kind of openly share before we jump into it. They were sharing how much money they had won or lost based off gambling on the Super Bowl. Here are some fun statistics for you. The average sports gambler in America who uses DraftKings, it's a man. I mean, let's not pretend like it's the average American.
It's a man.
The average man on sports gambling websites loses on average $3,000 a year. Not like plus minus 5, like net loss $3,000 a year. 33% of people under the age of 18 have admitted to using a sports betting app. And they were all like, oh, no, no. And so I low-key kind of just like, whoop, teed off for a second. I was like, thank God we found another way to like leak money from you guys on phones you don't even own because you're largely leasing them from Apple and Verizon. Meanwhile, you're walking around with like candy-flavored tobacco in your back pocket as you like use AI to like export any possible thinking process you might have, which will ultimately destroy whatever future job you have, which is actually fine. They won't need you because by the time you actually try to enter the workforce, you'll be so absolutely like grafted out when all of these different like internet services that they won't need you at all. In fact, the only time they're going to need you is when you finally run out of money, which is going to be any day now from your crippling vape addictions and your goddamn sports betting. No, you're absolutely right. You're living La Vida Loca. And by that, I mean, it's going to end soon. A kid was like, I recorded that, just so you know. And I go, post it. I stand by what I said.
10 toes down.
My generation ended smoking, and you guys brought it back PC flavored. You guys don't know gambling's bad. I don't know how else to tell you that's...
Mm-hmm. What? It's awful.
I was warned that my friends in high school were going to drink beer, and you guys are losing full scholarships worth of money because you got the Gatorade color wrong on the Super Bowl.
That's just wild to me. Yeah.
Because semi-professional pickleball didn't go your way on a Thursday night. Like, you guys are...
I don't understand how we found a way to bet on everything.
And then someone was like, back in my day. And I was like, back in my day, things were better and people cared about young people.
So anyway, we're playing with the psychology of a nation. There's a lot of morality and ethical questions about this. Playing with the psychology of a nation without their knowledge, without their consent, and in the scope of the democratic process that affects their day-to-day lives. Basically, the platforms designed to connect us have been weaponized against us. I moved this out, but I now want it. Yeah, because Facebook is designed was designed and still is designed to monopolize attention using the tricks of propaganda and the tricks of casino gambling and playing on instincts like fear and anger. Facebook has allowed this kind of emotion-based advertising on a granularity level, basically of individual targeting. Even like if we were to run a Facebook ad right now, we could be pretty fucking specific about when and where it plays and to who it plays.
I have a list of people I want you to let know I'm doing better than them now.
Well, we can
so
make
let's
that
go
happen.
ahead and make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like, even without Cambridge Analytica, like, that level of demographic study has always been available. Even if Facebook wasn't leaking our data to even more problematic places, like, they are still using it. So, like, anyone can come to them and be like, we want to show this ad to this kind of person in this area. And so it's regardless of Cambridge Analytica, and the efficacy of Cambridge Analytica itself has been argued, and some people think that they actually weren't effective. What they were actually doing is just peddling a product and then using tools that these huge corporations had accessible to them.
But I think part of it is like, when you hear that description on the surface, you're like, sure, you want to sell dog beds to people who own dogs, and you would understand that kind of targeted marketing ad. But what Cambridge Analytica is intentionally advancing, regardless of its efficacy, is how can we create scary narratives that are devoid of fact, oftentimes, to trick people into voting against something that is not real, and voting for something that will actively hurt them. Like, there's a difference between like, oh, here's a truthful product we are offering and we want our clientele to get it. Another thing to be like, transgender Muslim terrorists from Guatemala are coming to take your girlfriend to prom. Like, it's not a sentence that exists. You know?
It is now. You just fucking said it. Yeah, I've never, again, ADHD data, my data is not visible to me, and therefore it is not a permanent thing in my world. And so I have never, like, every time I download a new app and Apple is like, ask app not to track, or like, we would like to provide you personalized marketing. I'm like, ask app not to track, which also, like, there's no real guarantee that does anything.
No, that's an illusion of control.
Yeah, but if Snapchat is like, we have access to all 150,000 photos, do you want to continue that? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That seems easier for me. Like, what am I doing? But also, like, I think it's just nefarious when it comes to something like the democratic process, when it comes to something like what they did in Trinidad and Tobago, like intentionally suppressing a voter group under the guise of activism.
Right.
You know, it's that kind of stuff that's like, holy fuck, dude. Like,
and it raises the question of like, how durable is democracy? You know, if the last true kind of like pillar democracy can stand on, if it can't necessarily stand by the results it's producing, is that at the very least it was like chosen by the people.
Yeah.
But if it becomes increasingly this like understood reality that like we aren't even given a choice, right? Like, both the narratives that are being presented to us are false and ultimately serve billionaires. Like, I don't think, and this is now I think the scariest part of all of it, I don't think a loss of faith in the political process is a loss in the desire to see change. I just think it's the loss of the most peaceful and cooperative way to see that change happen.
Yeah, that's fair. A study has shown, I think a couple studies now have shown that Cambridge Analytica's processes have not necessarily differed from that of other firms, and therefore is not likely as effective at changing the behavior as much as the commentary around it has claimed. So it's kind of saying like they would have hired a different political firm that would have done the exact same shit. And part of it, I feel like, is Christopher Wiley coming out at the right time, saying the right shit. And there's a lot of conspiracy around Christopher Wiley. They're like, he's a Russian spy. And there's like a time where he like stopped responding to texts for a while after he like moved to LA. It's a whole fucking thing, dude.
Of course he moved to LA.
Yeah. There's also a whole other side of it that's like Alexander Kogan was working at Cambridge University, but he was also working at the University of St. Petersburg and has all these Russian ties and is like, yeah, probably. Like, who knows, right? And it's fine. Anyway, so the question becomes, is data privacy a human right? David Carroll, who I will talk about in a second, says, quote, "People don't want to admit that propaganda works because to admit it means confronting our own susceptibilities, horrific lack of privacy, and hopeless dependency on tech platforms, ruining our democracies on various attack surfaces." Julian Wheatland, who was like a former COO, CFO of SCL, I believe, or in Cambridge Analytica, says, quote, "This technology is going on unabated and will continue to go on, but Cambridge Analytica is gone because of the way that this technology is moving so fast and because people don't really understand it and because there's a lot of concerns about it. There was always going to be a Cambridge Analytica. It just sucks for me that it was Cambridge Analytica." Yeah, it sure fucking does, dude.
Sucks for all of us.
Yeah. Also, like, keep justifying how you're not entirely to blame by being like, well, I was just the guy to do it. It was going to happen anyway. Facebook sends a lot of very aggressive threats to Carol Cadwalader, like to try and keep her from breaking a lot of the stories that she broke about Cambridge Analytica.
Which is how you know Facebook Meta is not at fault.
Yeah, of course. That's actually screams innocence to me. I don't know. There is another like conspiracy kind of fact around this case that Brittany Kaiser had connections with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. And so that's a whole other aspect of it. Hello, dear listeners. It's Maya from several days after recording this episode, and I don't know where I'm going to put this little tidbit, but around this time in the episode is around when I start wrapping up and kind of want to draw attention to today's connections of the episode. And just given, I don't know, everything, I completely kind of forgot what I wanted to say here. And so now I'm coming after the fact in the future to talk to you about some of the commonalities between what happened with Cambridge Analytica and things that are happening today. Do I think the stuff Cambridge Analytica was doing is still likely going on in terms of election interference and algorithm manipulation and just like generally creating advertisements and tension in bad faith, because you're trying to manipulate. You're not trying to get people to see things your way. You're just trying to manipulate them into being fearful enough that they have the same views as you. And so something that I noticed about Cambridge Analytica is that it's like its marketing tactics are not necessarily unique. It wasn't doing anything special, which I believe I talk about in the episode. The thing that made it scary was the aggregation of data, right? So today, if I were to log onto Instagram, theoretically, if this was a perfect world, if I could log onto Instagram and just scroll through, it would kind of keep track of what I'm liking, what I'm saving, what I'm sending to people, and use that data to inform what kinds of ads it's going to drive to me. And that's its own problem, right? But it becomes more of a problem if Instagram were to sell that data to another company, right? Because right now, like I, for the podcast, could go on to Meta Business Suite and put out an ad and say, I want to target people in this demographic, this age range, this geographic area. And honestly, I might see that, right? But if Instagram sells this information to others, then they're allowed to use that information outside of the scope of just giving Instagram ads, right? Like it could then do a lot more damage at that point, especially if it then is also buying data from like DoorDash, which is telling it like when I'm most likely to order food, and it's like with Amazon Prime, and it's like putting together what my hobbies might be based off of recent orders and that kind of thing. That's when it, in my opinion, becomes kind of scary. And what I kind of wanted to talk about is, and this may be obvious for some of you, is the connection to Palantir, which is, it's essentially a third-party spying network, in my opinion. I do, because I'm a tech girly and have a bunch of friends in comp sci, have a couple of friends that have worked at Palantir, and so I reached out to one of them just to kind of ask some questions. A lot of the reason was because I just did not have the time anymore to look into what Palantir was doing, so I was hoping I could ask someone to just kind of answer some basic questions for me. And so I had asked this person what Palantir's goal was and what they were doing, and basically was like, is it aggregating data from multiple sources? And my friend said, yeah, the primary goal was they don't work there anymore. I don't think I have any friends that still work there, but they said the primary goal is collecting data from different sources and organizing it so it's useful as a whole. For example,
Airbus has databases with billions of sensor logs, low-quality freeform maintenance logs, spreadsheets of planes and how old the parts are. And so they're able to aggregate that data to be able to then tell Airbus when a plane is likely going to need maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. And so it can be useful. However, as of recording this, which is early 2026, there's a lot of evidence showing that Palantir is helping ICE put together data about potential people that they have marked for deportation, or people that they think are suspect or might be undocumented or something like that. And it's aggregating this data and able to tell ICE where to go find these people. And that kind of thing is where it really does become like Big Brother-esque. And so my friend then goes on to say it gets sketchy with law enforcement, defense, intelligence, etc. It incentivizes them to collect as much data as they can. Palantir can claim to stay out of it since it's the customer's secure data, but they are just providing tools to work with it. But they do cater to them, especially with huge government contracts. And then I went on to just ask some more direct questions, like, were you aware of Palantir working on political polling or political elections? Does Palantir get data from social media? And what was your perception of some of the executives? And my friend said was not aware of any work in political elections or political polling, and he did not believe they were directly getting data from people's social media, they said, but definitely could be ingested by customers into Palantir platform. Same idea of Palantir being neutral and just hosting customer data. And then they just said, like, the CEO is just a character, but my friend didn't particularly interact with them. So just so you guys know, it's scary, but it's still happening. And whether or not it's going to be something that stops happening in the future is maybe not something that we have as much say in as we would like to believe. But anyway, back to the episode. So now we're into the last section, legacy. First of all, this is from a while ago, but John Oliver did an episode last season about data privacy and how Instagram and Facebook can like use your data to give you like highly targeted ads. And he has a website. I am not making this up. All one word. John Oliver wants your rat erotica. All one word. .com. I swear to God, I'm not trying to spam you. It is, and I checked that it was still up as today.
Oliver.
So
wants
John
your rat erotica.
Yep.
Okay.
John Oliver wants your rat erotica.
.com.
Yes, .com. It is step-by-step instructions to do on Instagram and Facebook that prevents Meta from even accessing that data. So they can't, like, they actually will lose more money on you as a user because they can't then commodify your data to advertisers. And I did make those changes when I was watching that episode, and I do think I see a lot less ads. Like I feel like there was a time where I would like remember that I had clicked on ads because I would then see that's a same ad for that product for the next little bit. And now I just mostly get ads for little smut books. So
all's well that ends well with smut.
That seems fine to me. But if you're interested in that, go check that out. It shows you exactly what to do. Fun fact, the value of data is believed to have surpassed the value of oil as of 2017, 2018. Yeah. In 2016, David Carroll, who I had previously mentioned, is a New York associate professor of media design at Parsons School of Design. And he sees that his data is being taken and analyzed against his will, likely due to some of the reporting around this whole thing. But in US at the time, there was no data protection laws, so there's nothing legally he can do about it.
Of course.
As a result of some of the research, him and some of the other people he was talking to, namely like a mathematician out of Switzerland, I believe, they determined that the data that had been collected for the Trump campaign and the Cruz campaign had likely been processed at Cambridge Analytica in a London office, or SCL in a London office. Oh. Which means David Carroll can sue in London, the UK, which has a lot stricter data privacy laws, to try and get Cambridge Analytica to give him back his data. What he was demanding in that lawsuit was transparency. He wanted to know where they got the data, how it was processed, who it was shared with, and if people have the right to opt out. And this is, I think, around the time of GDPR. It's 2018. So when you go to websites and you get that thing that's like, allow cookies, don't allow, or allow all, or only allow some, that's because of GDPR, because they implemented all of this stuff around like data protection, and you have the ability to request that a company delete your data. And just simply because of how the internet works, all like websites started doing that just to protect themselves in case someone
from
in the
litigation.
UK, opens that. And so in 2018, I believe Cambridge Analytica pleads guilty, and they're like supposed to, like the Epstein files, like release the data to David Carroll in a certain number of days, which doesn't end up happening.
Right.
He did receive some of the data, but I think everyone involved was like, that's not all of it.
Yeah.
That's not all of it. That's not all of it. So he gets things like his voter registration, which is publicly available, and a model of his like political beliefs made by Cambridge Analytica. And he's like, that's just like not a lot, not impressive, not at all what you have been advertising to your clients.
Right.
So either you're lying about having the data, or like false advertising to your clients. And then in 2020, there's a YouTube video from Channel 4 News. They are able to get all of the data from Cambridge Analytica. I don't know how. I'm sure it had something to do with this lawsuit and Cambridge Analytica like dissolving, but they get the data and they go to interview David Carroll and like surprise him with his data. And watching David Carroll's like emotions on his face. It's been 4 years that he's been in this like lawsuit. He's been traveling back and forth between New York and London. And it's actually like unsettling to see everything that they have. It was not a small like document, and it had his personality scores for the big 5-factor personality test. It had commercially available things that theoretically Cambridge Analytica could buy, like his car type. They could also like acknowledge or look through social media to see like, is he a gamer? Is he a blogger? How does he eat? Is he on social media? What are investments? What are the charities that he supports? And it's like, that gets really specific.
Right.
As I was researching this, I kind of waffled between two opinions. One opinion being that Cambridge Analytica was made up of fraudsters who were really good at some things, but were advertising what they were doing as something else entirely. And that the data that they had on each individual was not a problem. It became a problem when they had an aggregate of this data for an entire society. Like, I don't give a fuck if they
like
know that I'm a gamer.
There's an economy of scale at one
yes.
point.
Like, it becomes a problem when they know that they can target me, you, and Lydia.
Right.
Because we have the same, like, beliefs. That's when it becomes a problem. And I think I still kind of stand on that. But that was before also I saw everything that was in that file on David Carroll. And I do think it is a little bit more...
It's jarring how much they had.
It's jarring. And they were, like... I think they said they had, like, 5,000 data points on every American voter. And who knows how accurate that was. And maybe, like, for people like you and me, it wouldn't apply anymore because we were so young when that data was collected, if it even applied to us, you know? So, and also, the other thing is that it was collected in 1 year and then not realistically updated.
Right.
You know, so there's also that. But anyway.
But then, like, what other companies have more updated pieces of data?
Yeah, because we don't know who's stealing our fucking data. Palantir.
Right.
Are you listening? So where are they now? Brittany continues to be a public advocate for data rights and helping on the Own Your Data campaign. She is own.your.data on Instagram if you want to see what she's doing these days. According to the internet, she's CEO of some like investment firm. Honestly, I started reading words and was like, I don't know what any of that means. So it has something to do with Bitcoin mining and also mental health psychotropics.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, hell yeah, girl, get your tits out. Christopher Wiley now works at H&M.
Oh.
As the head of insight and emerging technologies.
Okay, so not like as a clerk, which is what you made it sound like.
No. He's high up. I believe he like went back to school and got like some I don't remember what education level it was, but in like fashion studies and stuff.
Okay.
And H&M is a huge corporation that's killing the planet. Full stop. And that feels like somewhere someone like him would work.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can say you're working on sustainability all you fucking want. Prove it, bitch.
Right.
You can't. Whatever. Sorry, you use the word green and sustainable in like 2 pieces of marketing. This whole Cambridge Analytica scandal also resulted in legislative action worldwide. Namely, in the EU, it resulted in the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. The U.S. still, as of recording in February of 2026, does not really have comprehensive laws surrounding data privacy. So that's fun. But it did start the conversation about the morality of micro-targeting, specifically for political ads, especially right after this scandal. And I think a lot of this has been like rolled back or changed slightly since then. But Twitter banned political ads altogether. Google reduced the amount of targeting options a company could do.
Twitter, you can't buy political ads. You're going to be given political ads that Elon Musk has picked for you.
Grok is going to start making political ads of like nude women or something. Like Facebook then gave people the option to opt out of political ads, and then transparency tools started being implemented to allow users to more easily see what were ads and what like community notes there were, like, is this misinformation? Oh, and then my last data point, Nigel Oakes is mentioned in the Epstein files. And that's Cambridge Analytica. I told you, it's not like upsetting, but it's not like happy either.
It's tough because it's like things that you assume are happening now spelled out for you.
Yeah, I didn't know a ton about Cambridge Analytica. I'd even watched that documentary, and truth be told, I think the documentary like honestly feels like a video you make of your own like prom, you know, that's like, oh, this will be fun for me to remember. And I fully respect what everyone was doing in that documentary, and I do think it adds a lot now that I've done a lot more research to back it up. But there's a lot in that story that I think is really crucial to understand, especially like how SCL started. You know, like it initially was started for the military.
Right.
And now we're just like, let's use it on our own people.
Right.
Like, where are the Second Amendment people now?
Not the first thing to make that journey.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that.
All right. Well, I guess part of me is like, I hope the good side has this weapon too.
I just like don't even know where this fits. It looks like
our side started it, but like not really, not like this.
Didn't seem to like fear monger.
No.
As much as they did. Here's the last two, like couple things that I had taken out of my notes previously. Some general effects of social media. WhatsApp, also owned by Facebook, was heavily involved in the spread of misinformation in Brazil, leading to the election of a far-right leader. And there's evidence of Facebook data being used to incite the racial hatred in Myanmar, which caused a genocide. According to Alexander, at the peak, they were taking 10 campaigns for PM or president or whatever other position per year. They had work in Malaysia, Lithuania, Romania, Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria, as well as the other places I had previously mentioned. So, yeah.
Okay.
There's just a lot of rabbit holes you can go down. There's so many stories. Another one of the reasons I really struggled putting this story together is that there's just so many people involved. Like, after Christopher Wiley left, there's like 2 more psychologists that come in that I didn't even have time to figure out if they're evil or not. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you came in when they started working on the Trump campaign?
Right.
Like, I don't.
That's when you signed up.
How do you do that and then go home after the end of the day?
Midterm elections are in 8 months. Do you feel good or bad about it based off this episode?
I honestly think in this case, social media has helped the Democratic position or like the liberal position, mainly just because of how many videos there are. Like, you can lie to my face when it comes to like documents that were forged. Like, although I believe everything in the Epstein files is like legitimate, even if it's like a false testimony, someone did give that testimony, you know? But it's a lot easier to believe this is made up when it's a document or like someone on the news spewing it back. When there's like videos from multiple angles that like disprove AI and like all of this shit, and you're seeing violence happening directly in front of your face, I think that's a lot harder to dismiss. And I think, I don't know, I'm hopeful that it's helping, but you know, people are just conspiracy theorists at heart. We all just want to be important.
Then I guess to end on a positive note.
Thanks.
In 8 months, when the midterm elections happen, we will officially be halfway through Trump's
Oh my God. I hope he's dead by then.
You do. Oh my God, I really do too. Donald Trump, come in, Donald Trump. If you can hear me, Donald Trump, die.
Please send yourself
Die of
straight
natural
down.
causes tonight. Elevator, one-way stop, going down. Donald Trump, if you can hear me, Donald Trump, come in, please.
It's a
Donald Trump.
highway to hell.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Highway to hell. We can even get Kid Rock to lip sync it poorly for you.
And then use a bunch of bots to make it look like a lot of people are watching, but instead it's less than 1 million.
Womp womp. Yeah. So yeah.
Amazing. We need to jump to Patreon so I can share some of the stories. I almost said, imagine being so gay and closeted you didn't like the Bad Bunny show and instead watch Kid Rock. And I'm like, that's a statement that I think should be reserved for Patreon.
And here we are.
So join us
on
there.
The live episode.
So join us there. Find us on social media. This story is Liar Liar. We always love to read listener stories. And then next theme is Primetime Crime.
Primetime Crime.
So please submit stories for that. And then if you would like to wish somebody a happy St. Patrick's Day. This is always fun because I get to figure out what the next holiday is.
That's good for you.
Us, nosotros.
Will you remember when it's your anniversary?
What?
Will that be the question? If you want to celebrate me and my partner's anniversary, request us on Cameo.
You'll help me pay for a steak dinner. Anyways, Cameo, we make little videos and we have a lot of fun with them.
I do. Yeah. Grant gave a motivational speech to a high school cheer team.
No, point out, I was not fishing for that request, but you take whatever comes across the desk, you know?
He did a really good job.
It's an honest living. It ain't much, but it's something.
You should do your speech.
I'm Grant. And that's Maya. Goodbye.
You have a speech.
I just did it.
You just did one.
No, I said you can find us on social media. Join us on Patreon.
I'm going crazy.
Our themes are Liar Liar and
Primetime
Crime.
You're right, I did that.
And then St. Patrick's Day.
This never happened.
You can submit stories on wellilaughed.com or wellilaughdpod@gmail.com.
That was help. That was what I needed.
I'm Grant. That's probably Maya.
We're not sure.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Love you.